Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Gamers of a Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Chesson, and joining me this week, it's the other Spark on the pod. He's counting the days until another console Christmas. It's Mr. Darren Witham.
Hello, how are you?
I'm not too bad. What's your count? How many days left until you get another console?
How many more sleeps?
How many more sleeps until console day?
I don't know. 2 weeks and change.
There you go, yeah. 12 days, isn't it? 12 days until Christmas.
12 sleeps?
It's going to be 13 sleeps for this one. No, 12 sleeps.
Wow. Yeah, I'm excited. And I've made myself my very own sort of faux console Christmas by packing up that PS4 Pro. So it's going to be good. I was thinking this morning, I was like, oh, will it be as exciting? And I was like, oh, it isn't really going to be that great. And I just thought, well, I'll just have to make the best of it because it's as close to a new console Christmas as I'm going to get for a little while.
Absolutely, you just need to pick the games that have been kind of tarted up in HDR or 4K. You know, pick some great ones like Resogun's getting a patch before Christmas. Hopefully, imagine playing Resogun in HDR and 4K. That's just going to be glorious.
Oh man, that would be amazing, and that should maybe even hit native 4K. You never know.
No, I think it is.
Oh man, yeah, that would be really good. And I'm going to get Last Guardian as well. So that's a great combo. And yes. Resogun. Awesome. I wonder if they could do... it'd be nice if they up-res Journey as well. That'd be nice. But yes, I'm very excited. Have you got anything on your Christmas list?
I have actually. We went to John Lewis at the weekend, did a bit of shopping, and I saw a new Nespresso machine that kind of caught my eye. It was absolutely just really cool design. So there's been a couple of Nespresso machines that I've really kind of liked, and one of them was a big and bulky one that Nicola wasn't too happy with. But then we saw this Nespresso machine, and it had such a gorgeous, like when you turned it on, there was such a gorgeous clunk to the on button, and everything about it was just like, it was a little bit industrial, but it was an espresso, so you put the pods in and stuff like that. And as Nicola informed me, it matched the toaster, so I got kudos for matching appliances. So I said, I'm going to buy this. I've got to get this. And Nicola just said, look, I'm struggling for a Christmas present. Why don't you just leave that to me? So I was like, awesome, okay.
Wow, you got the matching appliance bonus.
Absolutely. So like I could say, the previous one that I've liked, and I got bought an espresso machine years ago by my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and this thing, I mean, it gets used like about 5 times a day, if probably more if I'm working from home. It gets used a lot, and it just keeps going, and it must be about 6 years old, and it just keeps going. But there was something about this new appliance that was just like, it was the clunk. I even tweeted to Doulat, I think it's Doulat. I even tweeted to them and said, like, well done on that design, because that clunk of that button made me want to buy it.
Wow. Which one is it? I'm going to go on the site and have a look. Do you know the model?
No, I don't.
It's the NX1L3.
It's a Doulat Nespresso machine. It's very kind of industrial looking, and it's just very lovely.
Oh, wow. Commercial meets consumer in the perfect form.
Yes, it's just so nice. Like I say, and it matches our toaster, so it's very awesome. So Des, how's your week been, sir? How have you been?
Yeah, not bad at all. What have I been up to? I decided I wasn't going to play many games, apart from the games I'm playing at the moment, because, as you know, I sent Titanfall back, so I put my Boomerang Rentals account on holiday,
right?
Which I thought I should do, rather than just pay for a month or so and not rent any games, and I felt that pressure as well. I was feeling, while it was there, I was like, I've got to get a game, and then it's like, I've got to play the game. So I was like, no, I just need to cut it out, concentrate on what I've got at home. So I did that. That was a fairly easy experience. The button on the website to do it was greyed out, and that might have been because they hadn't notified me of receiving Titanfall 2 back yet. Right. So when I got the email for them having Titanfall 2 back, I then just did a quick live chat with them and said I want to put my account on holiday. And he said, when do you want it to reactivate on? And I was like, I don't know, when there's some games I want to play. So I haven't thought ahead that far. Can I not just reactivate it myself when I want to? He's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't really work like that. I'm not sure if that's correct, but anyway, I just sort of said, right, well, and I felt a bit pressured to come up with a date, so I said 15th of March. So I'm not sure if that's too late, actually, because let's have a think. What's coming out? So,
well, I was thinking the only thing that because I've done the same. I've not put mine on hold. I've just kind of worked out a few games that I'm going to play. I've sent back. I did a DAS. I sent back Final Fantasy 15 because I was busy this weekend. There's other games that are coming out that I kind of want to play. So, Christmas, I want to play, Last Guardian. So what I've done is I've just sent back Final Fantasy. I'm going to play Last Guardian, which is the next game that's coming back from Boomerang. And then after that, I'm going to get Final Fantasy back and then continue playing Final Fantasy. So I've still got Call of Duty. I've got some of those, but I had a look at my account. And there is things like Resident Evil. There was a whole bunch of Nier. There was a bunch of games that I really want on the PlayStation 4. So I just decided to do that. So I just kind of worked out kind of what I want to buy. I took off Dead Rising 4 because I actually I'm going to buy that because I've heard so many good things about it, and it just looks like a ton of fun, so I'm just going to get that. So I kind of took that off, put Last Guardian on, so I made sure I got Last Guardian back, because when I went onto Boomerang's website, they actually said that all of their copies were currently out. It was like being in an old-style video store of the 80s. When you rack up and you go, have we got Return of the Jedi? And they're like, no, sorry, our 2 copies are out.
All the ones you want are out, yeah.
Yeah, like a Saturday night in Blockbuster when you had to go down past all of the new releases just to get the next kind of crappy ones. So I'm waiting. Hopefully they'll receive my Final Fantasy back in the next couple of days, and then I will get Last Guardian for Christmas.
Oh, cool. I look forward to hearing what you think about that. Well, I was looking at the release dates, and what are we now? We're 13th of December, so there's not much coming out. Super Mario Run's coming out on the 15th of December, but that doesn't matter. That's on tablets. The Don Bradman Cricket 17 on the 23rd of December. So I'm
Game
not
of the Year.
Yeah, Game of the Year coming up. And then for me, I was thinking, I just had Horizon Zero Dawn in my head, and I got the date wrong there. But Resident Evil 7 could be a goer for me, so that would be taking my account off ready for the 24th of January to reactivate. And then there's the Hitman, the complete first season, coming out together on the 31st of January, so that would be a great rental. Especially, James converted me on that, so that sounds really good. And then there's For Honor as well on the 14th of February, and Neo, as you said, on the 9th of Feb. Though I might skip that because I'm happy with my Dark Souls. So it all probably kicks off. Really, I suppose it was Resi 7 on the 24th of January, and then it's pretty constant. 24th of January, Resident Evil. 14th of February, or even 9th of February, Neo. Actually, 31st of January, Hitman, if you're interested in that. 14th of February, For Honor. 21st of February, Halo Wars 2. And it just kind of goes on from there, so I will be reactivating my account ready for that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's on hold for now, so that was good, and it actually was something that you could do. I was interested to test it, because, it's all very well them saying you can do this and that, but it's how, places are tested when either things go wrong or you try and, do something like this that they probably don't really want you to do, and they were pretty nice about it, so that's good. And then what else did I do? My mother informed me that she went, "Did you watch The Apprentice the other day?" I was like, "No," because I don't watch it. I gave it up many years ago because I just went off it. And she went, "Oh, it was a VR." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She went, "Yeah, they all had to." I won't do the voice anymore. She was saying the task was that the candidates had to create a VR game. Did you see it?
No.
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe you don't watch it either. But if anybody's given up or used to watch it or watches it, I think either the last edition or the one before the latest one, as we record, is their task is to make a VR game. So the whole episode is that they create, both teams have to create a VR game on the Vive, and then sell it at, I think, some kind of Comic-Con convention. And yeah, that's what the episode's about. It's pretty cool.
Oh right, I'm going to check that out on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah, that's the way I watched it. Yeah, and it's like, just as annoying as you'd expect. And it's weird because it made me just realise that actually, you can tune into that series and watch a one-off, and it's just the same as you remember. It's exactly, there's the baddies, and there's the ones you hate. There's the annoyance. There's why did you do that? It's just the same.
Everyone throws the project manager under the bus.
Yeah, and you just don't need to follow the series because you it's like a pantomime. You can sort of work out within 2 seconds because of the way it's made. What you're supposed to think about everybody. And have a watch of it and see what you think about what they came up. It was quite an amazing position to be put in for these guys. I mean, I think only about one really cared about games at all or knew about them. But they were in this amazing creative position where they had a team of developers that were going to create whatever they imagined, really. They were given a demo of their VR first so they could understand the lack of limitations of it, or, they could understand just what you could do with this platform. And then it was like, right, Sugar goes, VR's the next big thing. And then off they go to do something with the next big thing.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool. They had a desk. I think there was like 8 candidates by this stage, or maybe 9. And they had this long desk, and each one had a Vive on it. So they were sat next to each other. There's like 9 or 8 or whatever Vives all in a row. And they all put them on. And then they were in a virtual boardroom, and Alan Sugar appeared.
Oh, no.
He appeared in the virtual boardroom as sort of like a video.
Yeah.
Of him, and to make it look sort of cyber in inverted commas, they sort of made him glitch out and stuff. It was all right though. It was a bit bad. I said to Claire, isn't it funny that they've got to make it look sort of futuristic? They've got to put glitches in it. Yes. To sort of make people appreciate that that's the future. It was really weird, and when it could have just been a normal video. So he was there, the virtual Alan, going, "Now you're in VR. Go and make a game, son." So off they went. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, the games that they came up with, at first I was kind of like, it's not very good. But then you've got to take into account that they weren't really gamers and they didn't have much time, I suppose.
Right.
And one won and one lost, and, one person got fired. Or maybe 2 got fired. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything.
But spoiler alert, dude! No, that's really cool. I mean, what I'll do is I'll find it on BBC iPlayer, and I'll stick a note in I'll stick a link in the show notes, just if anyone's interested. Because I'm going to download that. I'm going to have a look because that sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah, if only to see the reactions of people. The candidates, because when they put it on, they were kind of like that blew them away quite a lot. And then I spent the entire episode just trying to think what I would create. And it's not as easy as you think. It's like, okay, I've got infinite time now. I'm just imagining that I've been asked to create a game in VR. The best I could come up with was the Overcooked VR that we've talked about before. Once I thought of that, I couldn't get it out of my head. But it is quite difficult, I think, with a blank canvas to just think of an idea like that. That's going to work.
Yes.
I was just kind of like saying to Claire, they need to take advantage of the VR, of the control of the room scale here. They need to think about that, what VR gives them that no other gaming platform does. But I don't know, maybe they weren't... Maybe they don't think about that, not being gamers and stuff. And there was a girl in it, I think she was an IT recruitment woman. And so it was like, you're in the IT industry, so you should be project manager. It's like, IT recruitment? That doesn't make you, that doesn't make you a gamer. It doesn't make you... I've spoken to a lot of IT recruiters in my time. It doesn't mean they're in the IT industry.
No, not at all. Wow.
So that was about it. What about you?
Not much really. This week I've been at the weekend we Christmased up the house. So we had the final push, kind of for weeks I've been saying about DIY. Well, then it all kind of came to its nice little conclusion over the weekend. So we could just kind of Christmas up the house, we've got 3 Christmas trees in the house.
Wow.
So, which is so cool. We got like 3 Christmas trees. I got one in the office where I'm recording right now. So one in the studio. I got one right behind me. So, which is really cool. So yeah, so we got like 3 Christmas trees. So that makes me quite happy. So I was just kind of getting all of the rooms ready, and it's all kind of nice and ready because I'm hosting Christmas this year. So which is good fun. So we're just kind of doing that. So we basically just knackered ourselves kind of getting the house ready. And it was like kind of, I think it was about 8 o'clock on Saturday. We just kind of sat down. So I didn't even get my kind of customary kind of morning game time on Saturday and Sunday. I was literally Saturday, woke up, first thing I had to do was go to the tip, that sort of stuff, and it was full on. But it was full on, and I started feeling like an old man because at the end of it, I started, whenever I was getting up out of my chair on Saturday, I started making old man noises. And then on Sunday when we did the same thing all over again, they just got louder and longer. So which which was hilarious. So yeah, so that's kind of my week's kind of just been getting ready for Christmas. But the great thing is, I've got kind of another week at work, and then I break. I think I break on kind of Christmas Eve. Eve is like my is the first day of my holiday, and I don't go back until the new year. So there is like so much time. I'm going to game so much. I'm just going to be up until early hours of the morning gaming. So I can't wait for that holiday to start.
Wow, a winter's break's always good because you don't feel bad about gaming when the sun's not shining. It's always
exactly.
It's bad in summer, isn't it? When it's a beautiful day and you're like, just close the curtains, turn your back on it, and settle down for a marathon session on your favourite game.
Exactly, but in winter it's just like it's kind of dark by 4 o'clock, isn't it? So it's just so nice, and the house is lovely. It's all Christmassy. There's lights everywhere, so it just feels nice. There's a big bowl of sweets. So I mean, I'm hoping that I'll be getting Watch Dogs 2, which will be my Christmas game. If not, then I'm sure Final Fantasy will easily fill that gap. So they're the kind of two that I'm looking for. So I cannot wait just to kind of jump into a long kind of single player game with maybe some jump outs to some multiplayer as well, with likes of you and James and Manny and Stalker of the show Matt. So so there's a really good sort of. I'm really looking forward to some gaming. So I'm really quite excited about it. So that's what I'm gonna be playing in a couple of weeks' time. What have you been playing this week, sir?
What have I been playing this week? I've been playing a few games. Final Fantasy 15 still loving it. Oh my goodness, I don't know how many hours I am in now. 30, 40, I don't know, but I'm not progressing too much through the story because I've been just enjoying side questing around, as I've said before. And
right,
I did a bit of story over the last few days and really enjoyed it, and it's kind of good because I'm powerful enough to be able to just get through it fairly easily, which is nice, because I hate it when I get to a bit in an RPG and well, it hasn't happened for ages because I'd like to dither around anyway. I like to just enjoy the world and stuff and mess about. So it hasn't happened for a while, but I think it was a lesson learned on an RPG when I tried to power through and I just can't kill the boss because you're not leveled up enough. So I like to languish and just sort of enjoy the scenery, side quest around, and that's what I've been doing, and I'm not bored of it one little bit. I really like it.
So what kind of things can I do? So when I start playing again, what kind of things can I do to kind of get to level up? What are those? Are they clearly marked as side quests, or they're just like chocobo or whatever, chocobo racing, or what can I do?
What can you do to level up? Well, let me think about this. The main thing you can do is go out into the wilderness and fight monsters, and as well as that, you can also stop at all the different outposts throughout the world where there's hotels and eateries, and you can talk to a tipster, which is usually the guy that's running the eatery, and he can send you off on a monster hunt. So they're usually harder than the common garden monsters of the area, and they'll go on a specific quest where it'll highlight an area on the map to go and hunt the monster. A little bit like the bounties in The Witcher, I suppose. Go off and just slay the monster and then come back, or go out and bring the item that they want you to bring. And on the way, you'll be tackling the beasties from around the world as well. So that's really good. So I decided early on that I wanted to sort of do all the monster hunts, but you find that eventually the monster hunts are in areas of the map you can't get to yet. So I did like all the ones that I could. And then when it closed off the map, it's like, well, there are a few other missions as well that I was doing. It's not only the monster hunts, but many characters will just have side quests. They'll have a question mark above their head or on the map, and when you talk to them, it will offer up a side quest to do, and you can choose whether to do that or not. And I was just doing all the side quests I could until they all started to appear outside of the perimeter that I was allowed to sort of wander about in, because the rest hadn't been unlocked yet because of the story. So that's what I did, and yeah, that's just adventuring because it's an open world, and just driving around in the car, parking up, fighting monsters, going fishing. You don't get much experience for fishing, but you do get AP, which is what you spend on leveling up your buffs, like your different techniques in combat and things like that. So going fishing, upgrading the car so that it consumes fuel at a less speedy rate, so that you don't get stranded in the middle of nowhere, and then leveling up the chocobo as well, because you get a chocobo, and the more you ride on it, the more it levels up. So and it's fun to do. And I noticed something else. It was only, I think, yesterday I was on a chocobo, and you can't go in the water as a character. Like typical thing where you just hit an invisible wall when you try and get in the water. And I was going from A to B on my chocobo, and I boosted a few times, and there was a lake in front of me, and I thought, I'll just hit that wall, and then it will actually be quicker if I hit the wall and then turn, rather than turning the chocobo around. And it just jumped into the water and started swimming like a duck.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, hold on a minute, is this shallow water? Maybe it's just walking. And I spun the camera around, and I could see its little feet under the water swimming. I was like, oh, awesome. So your characters can't swim, but if you ride a chocobo, you can swim on a chocobo over the lake. And I was like, oh, that's just splendid.
That was you sorted for the next hour and a half, just riding that. I hope your chocobo is yellow.
It was yellow, but I changed the colour to white.
Right, okay.
Because you can customise them. You can change the colour and you can change the name. So I just changed it to a different colour. I picked white. I might pick a different colour. You can also customise your car as well, do different decals and patterns and stuff on it. So there's just loads to do, which is kind of good, because I'm at a bit of a crossroads with it just now, because of some news that's come out that isn't actually on our news list. And I don't think I mentioned this last week when I talked about the Final Fantasy roadmap, or maybe I did, and it slipped my mind because of talking about games news so much. But basically, they are going to patch in some story, because there's been some complaints that the story isn't really that deep within the game, and that you have to refer to Kingsglaive or the anime for Final Fantasy 15 to get the full story.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. I don't subscribe to that. If I was a mad fan of a series before it came out, maybe I would. But I hear that Kingsglaive isn't that good. Can't be bothered with it. The anime, I haven't really got the time. And I believe that the story should be in the game. And I'm not going to watch Kingsglaive, and I'm not going to watch the anime unless I finish the game and get really, really amazed and sort of, I don't know, just struck down by the beauty of it all, and it becomes sort of a torch for me. Then I'm not going to bother watching these things, and especially when I hear that they're not that great anyway. And I don't like that. I don't like having to watch peripheral content in order to understand what's going on in the game. So I just take the story when it happens as okay, that's a baddie. I'm not going to really care if they don't go into it that much. It's as if the game was rushed 10 years in development, and it's as if they had to cut a lot out. Maybe they had to cut a lot out that they intended to be in there, and then put it out as this extra content. So anyway, there's this story that Square Enix, Squeenix, they've Squeenixed out half the story, so they're going to Squeenix it back in. They're going to adjust the story, and they're going to put patches out that help update the story in certain chapters. And a chapter that I'm hearing a lot about is chapter 13. Now, there's 15 chapters in the game, so 13 is quite a way away. I think I'm on 6 at the moment. That's a bit of a Walken.
Right.
That's a bit of a Christopher Walken. Quite a way away. I didn't sound anything like it. And so I'm in a bit of a dilemma. So what I'm getting around to saying is, right, so Square Enix are going to start patching in the story to make it better, so it's more understandable. So I'm kind of like, well, should I not... Do I progress, or should I just halt and wait till the full story's there? So I don't know what to do. But I don't want to stop playing it because I'm enjoying it. But if they're going to make the story better, I will be kind of shortchanged if I go through it all, and then after I've completed it, it's like, oh, well, yeah, chapters X, 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 and X have actually got more content to make them better now. And it's kind of like, oh, well, that's great, but I've already had my adventure. I don't think I'm going to go and play 100 hours again.
That's really interesting though, because back at E3 when they announced that they were delaying it until December, because it was supposed to come out before December, wasn't it? It was supposed to come out in October originally, and they delayed it by 2 months because they said they wanted to include everything on the disc, because they wanted people that maybe didn't have an internet connection to be able to enjoy the complete story without patching it. And now you get this stuff is happening.
Yeah, and what about the day one 10 gig patch?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. That's why I thought they were delaying it, so you didn't get that day one. That completely slipped my mind until just then. Wow, So yeah, that's right. I'm so glad maybe that I haven't jumped in straight away, and it is a little bit of a worry, isn't it, with big games like this, that that experience is gonna happen. Like The Witcher. I mean, The Witcher was absolutely perfect, but if you would have waited until after the 26 items of DLC and all of the extra updates that they did, you get a much fuller game. I remember when Nicola started playing, you said exactly that. That she was getting a much more complete game now after waiting kind of like 2 months after release.
Yeah, and I was thinking about The Witcher as well, because I was like, it's the second time it's happened to me for being sort of loyal and getting in there early. And I said it with The Witcher. I said, they want those first day sales. They want that zeitgeist of everybody in there on day one.
Yeah.
But, it needs to be balanced, because your diehard fans are going to be disappointed, aren't they? I mean, I am. I'm disappointed because I don't know what to do. I don't want to stop playing, but I don't want to miss out on key story. So and I like to dither because I want to dither. I don't want to feel that like I'm just sort of treading water for months. There's no date on when these patches to the story are going to appear.
I was just about to ask that. Yeah, there's no date at all. They haven't put that date on.
No, so it's not good, really. I'm just going to... It's the game I'm playing. I don't think I can stop. So I'm going to probably end up just completing it, and then the patches will come out probably the day after I complete it. No matter what day it is that I complete it, the patch will come out the day after, and I'll be like, great. And then the best I've got would be to probably watch the fully fleshed out cutscenes on YouTube or something. And for an experience like this, I want to be involved in the story and enjoy it, what there is of it. And if it's cut down as it supposedly is, and I can't really comment on that because I haven't seen enough story yet to really comment, then that's fine, because I'm enjoying this game as a sum of parts is I think fantastic. So I could let it go for lacking story as long as there's some, as long as the goodies win, I'm quite happy. But to feel that by getting the game on release and playing it and enjoying it through from that point to whenever I complete it will actually cause me to miss the full experience is quite annoying. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Because you're right. The day you finish it, that's the day that patch will come out. Isn't there a couple of games that maybe you could play, like the ones that were like on the Games with Gold or something like that could tide you over maybe and give it a little bit of space? I mean, the problem is if you're enjoying it, then why not just kind of continue? I mean, you're only on chapter 6 by the sounds of a lot of and I've only kind of cursory looked at the news around this, but they seem to be kind of focused very much on that chapter 13. So maybe it's just kind of wait until you get to keep going. It's taken you a couple of weeks to get to 6, and Christmas is a week and change away, and then you're going to be over in PlayStation Pro land, so maybe things like that will just kind of keep you kind of occupied, and then you'll go back after playing Last Guardian, then you'll go back to Final Fantasy from chapter 10 onwards, and then finish it as one big opus.
Yeah, I think you might be right, and that's what I was sort of going to do anyway, so it might work out fine. It just makes me worry. I was going to play it until Christmas, and then at Christmas I was going to let Last Guardian interrupt, finish that, and then go back. So it may be that it's all fine, but they're talking about these added bits. They're going to be really well done. They're going to be fully voiced and everything, unless they've got the assets already. And maybe they've got the assets already. If they just cut them out from the game, maybe they'll come quick. If they've got but if they were never included and they've got to sort of develop them from scratch, and that might be more time consuming. It depends how much resource they're going to throw at it, and you've got to think, this is for free that they're doing it. As far as I'm aware, I think this is free. So that's really great that they're going to do that for free as well, and not charge for it. There'd be a bit of an outcry if they'd be better off not saying anything, wouldn't they? Than it's like, oh yeah, we'll give you a fully more fleshed out story, but it'll cost you $10 or whatever. So it's good that they're doing it for free. It's just, I think I said this. We said it about No Man's Sky. We said it about a few things. I'd have rather waited. Like No Man's Sky, that patch that came out recently. It's kind of like, if only they'd have left it till then. And this, it's kind of like, it's great to play it early. Well, not early. It's great to play it when it's released. I know the delays are through the roof, but it's kind of like when there's been that many delays. What's another month or so?
Yeah. It's because they held that event, didn't they? They held that Final Fantasy 15 event, and then they said, this is the release date. They had the producer on stage, and they went, this has made a big trumpet about the release date, and then it slipped to November, December, whenever it's just come out. So, imagine them coming up again and saying it slipped again. I mean, a lot of us, you, me, a lot of us, a lot of probably the people listening to this podcast, we are we're understandable about a release because we want that, that adage that you always say that it's it's a good game, or for that one that I can never remember, but that's true, and a lot of people will wait, but there's a lot of people that'll be like up in arms and start raging and then maybe not buy it. So they're just kind of looking to say, look, we've delayed it by 9 years, we've now announced it, delayed it, and announced it again. We can't delay it, so there's pressure. So they probably looked at the story. They probably have these assets already. They just went cut that, or we'll Q&A that. We haven't got time to do that. And then here they go. And then this is the game. But then they've realised that maybe people are getting through it a lot quicker. And I wonder where the feedback's coming from, that they realise that maybe they made a mistake by cutting chapter 13.
I don't know. Fan feedback, critical feedback. I'm not sure what's got the most weight. But imagine you've just completed the latest Telltale Batman game that you've been looking forward to for years, right? It's the best one ever, and you've just finished it because you bought it on day of release and you tanked through it because you're such a fan. And then it finishes, you get the credits, you think that was class, man. You're really happy, and the next day there's some news saying that actually there's a new patch coming out, and that's going to inject more into the story than you realised. I suppose if it was only a 6-hour game, it'd be like classic. I've got replay value. But for me, it's kind of everything that you see during this game is a one-off thing. I can't really see myself playing it twice, for 100 hours or something like that. It's kind of like if they did it on Fallout or something. So I think yeah, you're right. I'll carry on playing it and naturally play it and hope that the patch comes out. If the patch doesn't come out affecting the story, that'll be my canon, I suppose. And then we'll see when the actual patch comes out, we'll see what difference it makes. And I'll comment at the time and I'll say whether or not it would have been worth waiting, I suppose. I'll just report on it on here and I'll let you know, and I'll say, yeah, if I'd have waited, I'd have understood this bit about it, and how much would that have affected the enjoyment. I imagine it won't really affect the enjoyment of it too much because I still love it, but it's just there as a little thorn in my side thinking about it. So there you go. I'm loving Final Fantasy 15, but I'm annoyed about the perspective patching that may alter the story, or will alter the story for the better. And it makes me think, like you said, are we getting to a time when with RPGs and things it's just worth waiting a few months and not jumping on straight away? But then that kind of ruins the fun. If I don't jump on straight away, the likelihood is I'll be on the next game. So there we go. What else have we played? Overcooked. You and James have been talking about it so much. I refired it up and had some great times on it over the last week. So that's really cool. Introduced Sam to it, which is fun. There's a third player with me and Claire. Claire's amazing. She goes from calm to pretty ballistic angry within seconds on Overcooked. It's quite a sight to behold.
It really is. I tell you, it turns. I know Claire. She is quite calm. She's very calm, very very relaxed kind of person. Similar to my good lady wife. But you put a controller in their hand and in front of Overcooked, and they do just turn into rage monsters, don't they? And scary.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm probably shouting. I was surprised that Sam wasn't scared, but he found it all very amusing. To the point that he thought that Mummy shouting was so funny that he just refused to help. He started just bashing her out of the way and stuff on purpose. He can get away with it. He's only 5.
That's just hilarious. He then just kind of gives his old baby blues, and then he's like, he gets let off. When you try and do it, you don't. It doesn't wash.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, man. You've got 3 stars on all the normal levels, haven't you?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm having trouble.
We're not allowed to move on until we get 3 stars.
Some of them, maybe we can be excused because we've been playing with a little one. But that one where you get three trucks instead of 2 trucks, and you're making soups in the saucepans in one truck and fish and chips in the other. That's hard. We just need to manage our time a little bit more efficiently. But crikey, it's solid, especially when you've got a third wheel of a little boy just bantering around, throwing lettuce off the trucks. So that's really cool. And the other thing that I found out with Overcooked is I had an extra person round, and I was like, Overcooked's amazing. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember Steam saying they were going to support PS4 controllers, sort of natively.
Right.
And I thought, I haven't seen an announcement saying that's happened yet. It hadn't happened last time I tested it, but let's have a go. So I plugged the old PS4 controller in, so I got 3 Xbox pads already plugged in. Plugged in a PS4 pad because I haven't got 4 Xbox pads, and hey presto, worked like a dream, which you'd never had before.
Wow!
I was like, wow, I got 4 pads. That's brilliant.
That's just
so fantastic. I had a bit of 4-player banter as well, and that was okay. It was okay, but Claire was getting annoyed. I find there's no point getting annoyed because it just drives you completely balmy. So in the end, I just started laughing. And at one entire level, I was just feeling a bit mischievous, and I just started picking up stuff and throwing it directly into the bin, just to see the reaction.
Oh my God, Nicola would kill you. She would rip your heart out with a spoon. Honestly, we've been playing Overcooked as well because the festive seasoning DLC came out. Free DLC came out, and it is absolutely fantastic. Now, we had the Lost Morsel that came out. That was, you had to buy that one, which I was more than happy to give the devs more money because I absolutely love Overcooked, as I've said time and time on this game. But then Festive Season come out, which is free, and it's fantastic. It does this, the little world maps that you have, and you can just kind of drive around, and things just kind of wobble out the way, don't they? That kind of little aesthetic. On the festive seasoning, every now and then, like Santa goes over, so you just hear these reindeers, and the amazing thing about it is it really plays around with the surround sound in the movie room, and it goes from right hand corner front to left hand corner back, and it just goes over the room. And every now and then, like Nicola and I go, just leave it, let's wait for Santa, and then we just kind of listen to Santa kind of going over the room, and it's just amazing. It is so cool. But the best thing about Overcooked Festive Seasoning is that you get to cook turkeys with a flamethrower.
I haven't got to that bit yet,
and it is so good. It is just so good. So you get to make winter stew, and then you get to turkeys, and you can then just kind of, you just set a flamethrower on a turkey. So which is, you have to watch it because there's only so much space that you can set stuff down. But I figured out, I think we're one level away, and we have no idea how we're going to do the last level. They have made the last level of Festive Seasoning. It is so hard. But I'm sure Nicola's going to work it out. But I got it. So I needed three ingredients for my turkey dinner. So I needed potatoes, carrots, and turkey. So I chopped them all, apart from the turkey, had them all kind of there, and I got my flamethrower and just did 3 at once, and then just got a plate, went bop, 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 out, and it was just so cool. And I think level 7 on the festive season, level 1-7 in the festive season, we were on a roll. We were just a well-oiled machine, and we were just going well. But I love that game so much. It really is just one of my favourite games this year. Kind of spoiler for our game of the year talk, but this game will be. But one of the things I just love is the way that Nicola reacts to the game, because whenever we don't get 3 stars, we could get 2 stars. We could ace it on our 2 stars on our first go. Whenever we don't get 2 stars, I get like an instant retrospective, an instant critique on what I did wrong. not what Nicola did wrong, but what I did wrong. And the language. The only other time I've seen Nicola swear that much is when she's playing Mario Kart. And just to hear the expletives, and then you're looking at the screen, and there's this gorgeous cartoony game, and this kind of blue language coming out my wife.
The most innocent looking game brings out the worst in people.
It really is. It's just so funny. And it was quite interesting. I saw on the PlayStation blog today that there was another game that it was like relationship testing co-op game. I was like, don't take that from Overcooked. I was just going to, because that is Overcooked's title, that is the relationship tester, and I'm sure our marriage has gone quite close a couple of times because of how bad I played Overcooked.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think the design of it, I think I've said to you before, I think it's just amazing. The way that it's just, everything's just the flow, really, from teaching you the basics, and then when it challenges you, it's just the right side of tough. That you think this is insurmountable. I'm never going to be able to do this, and you do. You do it, your club together. You realise it's all about the communication. You need to formulate a plan, and then you go back in there and you ace it, and you're like, wow, what a feeling of achievement. And then you toddle off and you van to the next place, and then you're back to square one going, what the heck? is this hell? Don't torture me anymore. And you're like, well, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to work it out. It's like, well, we're not doing it in the right order. Who needs to be on washing up duty? Who needs to be doing this? Where are we failing? Where are we going wrong? Is it more? Do we need more plates? Do we need to just start cooking lots and lots and lots of one thing, regardless of what they're going to ask for, because we know that's going to come up? It's so funny. It's a great game. I love it.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, I actually read an article the other day, and I'll put a link in the show notes to it as well. It was Ghost Town Games, who are the developer behind Overcooked. They did a Game Sutra article about the art of co-op and the art of co-op games. So it's basically like a making of Overcooked. Really interesting article, really worth a read if you're into Overcooked. So I'll stick a link in the show notes. I'll get it now so I remember, because it's a really interesting read.
I'll have a read of that, definitely, because I'd love to hear about the process of making it, and certainly testing the levels if it goes into that, and how they just honed that difficulty sweet spot just right. It's just brilliant. Maybe they just all played it with their significant others.
Well, it's really interesting because I won't spoil the article because it's well worth a read, but they actually said that they started doing a 3-life thing. So it was like kind of if you missed an order, you lost a life, and your kitchen had 3 lives. So instead of being score-based, you had almost like 3 stars that you could then lose. But they just said they found people were just failing and failing, because I don't know about you, but there's times later on where you're looking at how much score you have, how much time you've got on some of the orders, and you actually just let some go. So you just go, it kills Nicola whenever I say just ignore that one, it's wobbling, don't worry about it, let's move on to the next one. And then we just kind of move on to the next one. So there was one last night, I think we failed 4, so we wouldn't have got through that. So they just said from play testing they realised that just became too annoying, so that's why they went for the score based instead.
I think it works really well, because at least you get the satisfaction of completing the level every time. Because the time runs out, and it's game over, whistle blows, and then we look, and you see what you did, and you can instead of just fail, it's better. And the way that you unlock more levels with more stars, so you can get so far, even if you just 1 star every level, can't you? Because your stars accrue. And we've got to that point now actually where we kept going on, and I think it's 38 stars or something, or 35 stars needed for the next level, and we haven't quite got that, and it's like, oh no. The time has come where we actually have to go back and start working on those 2 stars where we couldn't do it. And it's like, well, we've got no choice. So at that point, we went over to festive seasoning, actually, for a little while.
Right.
But yeah, that was hard.
That ramps up quite quick as well, doesn't it? Yeah. I think it's by like level 2 that I was just like, I think it was by level 2 that we didn't get a star. I think there was one level in the festive seasoning where when we finished, we didn't get enough points to get a star, and Nicola just put the controller down. She was like, "What did you do?" She was like, "I didn't do it." She goes, "This is what happens when you don't listen to me," and it was that sort of stuff, and it was just, it just makes me chuckle. I mean, I'm probably a bit like Sam, when Nicola's like all kind of like angry and shouting at me, I'm just laughing. Because I just find it amazing, and it's really interesting because like Nicola's got a big project that she's rolling out at work at the moment, and it's really interesting to see how a way to distress her and to distract her from work kind of rolling around in her head isn't like watch TV or anything like that. It's to play Overcooked. The 2 things that are really kind of distressing her at the moment are Overcooked and Solitaire. I was talking about Solitaire a couple of weeks ago, where it gives you achievements on the iPad. She's absolutely loving that, and that's such a fantastic game, so those 2 things really are just switching her mind off, and it's just really interesting to see. So even though it's hectic and she's shouting and swearing, it really does like just make her forget about work, which is really
because
cool.
Those kind of games, there's nearly no room for thinking about anything else. They're all about full concentration on the task at hand. It doesn't allow your mind to wander about, did you remember to measure twice, cut once on your project plan, sort of thing. So it's the perfect thing, isn't it? Like watching TV, or even a film, even the most gripping films have their sort of wind down parts where your mind can drift to, did I do that? But there's no thinking of anything else but Overcooked in Overcooked. And I think Solitaire is very much the same, because if you don't concentrate, you miss a card, and that's annoying, isn't it? So yeah, I can understand that. I've never thought of it that way. It's really good. So that's Overcooked. What else did I play? Gears of War 2 with you, sir. Yeah,
we got it. We got there.
Thank you very much for the code.
No
and
worries.
So Anthony gave me the code because I said a few podcasts ago that I played Gears of War 4, but it didn't really do it for me. And I sort of had a hankering to play the old Gears. And Anthony had a code for Gears 2, which he kindly passed over to me. And so we hooked up on Friday, wasn't it? It was Friday evening. And we had a go of Horde on Gears 2, which I've been really excited about for ages. And we had another player in there as well, didn't we? It turned out, once we got everything sorted out, once we communicated, because we couldn't do chat on Xbox Live because me, dimwit over here, had left his Xbox headset in one of my chests in the lounge. I've got the chest full of stuff, and the headset was in there. I forgot, even though Claire said to me, make sure you get everything out of that chest before you assemble the Christmas village on top of it. I was like, it's all right, it's fine, there's nothing in there. I assembled my Christmas village, which you've seen, haven't you, Anthony, as part of putting my decorations up. I assembled...
It's a beautiful thing.
Painstakingly assembled the Christmas village on top of this chest. It's got like snow, and then on top of the snow there's like a seat. It's like people having snowball fights and chopping down Christmas trees and all different things on there. There's no way I can take the Christmas village down to open the chest until after Christmas when it goes away. I didn't realise that until we started, and it was like, our headset's in the trunk. Let's try an iPhone headphone set. That didn't work. So in the end, we did it on chat, didn't we, on the iPad using Facebook Messenger?
Yes.
I think it was. So once we got the communication sorted out, we went into Gears of War 2 Horde mode, and I must say I enjoyed it, and I thought it looked quite well for a 10-year-old game.
Yeah, absolutely. The character models look really good. I thought the floor looked very flat, in comparison to the later ones, but it played so good. It really did. It just feels. I mean, it's Gears. It's Gears. So it feels like Gears. But I was just having such a blast, and it was really cool. I was like, I remember this map. Come and hide here and stuff like that. And it was really cool. And we lasted quite a while as well with that chap's help as well.
Yeah, we got to level 19, didn't we? I've never completed 50 waves.
Wow, we need to sort that.
So maybe we'll do that another day. So I really enjoyed that. And then the final game that I played, which I thought I'd mention as it's quite topical, is I saw a piece of news that there was an update for a game I own in VR called Rich's Plank Experience, which I've talked about before, which is where you set up a plank in your lounge and you go on it, you go in a lift up to the top of a massive skyscraper, and then you walk out on a plank. And if you've chosen to put a plank out in the real world, you actually step onto the plank and you can measure it in the game, and it's terrifying because you think, it fools you enough to be looking down and you're like, whoa, you can see all the traffic, stories and stories below you. And it's just an experience, as it says, another VR experience. But there was an update to it yesterday, I think it was, for Rich's Plank Experience's Santa Simulator.
Awesome.
And I saw this on Steam, and it basically said, have a ride in Santa's sleigh, dropping presents into chimneys. And I was like, oh, wow, it's amazing. I think I noticed it because when I fired up Steam, it always says downloading. So I always check what's downloading because it means there's updates. It means there's new stuff. And I had a look at it, and there was this piece of news, and I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. So I fired up VR, and when you start, you spawn on the ground floor in a city with the lift behind you, and looked at the lift. And inside the lift, there was a bell on a festive sort of red and white candy cane sort of table. It was like sort of painted in that way. So I picked up the bell and rang it, ring-a-ling-a-ling. And then all of a sudden, you sort of got this Christmas music, sort of thing. And the lift went up, ba 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 ba. And then when it opened, it was the Christmas plank. And so I walked to the end of the plank. I didn't put the plank out in the room because I was expecting to go in a sleigh, so I didn't know what was going to happen. So I walked to the edge of the plank, not actually stepping on a real plank, just sort of on the carpet, but in VR in the plank. And I rang the bell that was at the end. And when I rang the bell, all of a sudden Rudolph appeared with a friend of his, maybe Blitzen, and they were pulling a sleigh, and they did a little lap around the sky, and came to rest about 6 feet, maybe 10 feet below me on the plank.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, a pole from the sleigh went up towards me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, that's weird. What am I supposed to do here? So I was like doing stuff with this pole, didn't know what to do. I was like, I think it's broken. Anyway, Sam wanted to go, so I put Sam on it, and he just walked off the edge of the... He just went, it's not broken. I uninstalled the game and reinstalled it because I didn't know what to do. I was like, this is really weird. I was fiddling around with this pole. I was like, it's not working because the rangers need to be at the same height as me. I was like, that's what it is, Sam. It's me talking to my son who's 5. I was like, the ranger needs to be the same height so you can step into the sleigh. It's obvious. You need to do that. And Sam went, can I just have a go anyway? And I was like, yeah, okay. Sam just walked to the edge of the plank, dropped off into the sleigh.
Superb.
And once he dropped off into the sleigh, there was a bell on the sleigh which he rang, and off the sleigh went.
Wow.
And you're stood. The sleigh's massive. It's even bigger to Sam because he's only 3 foot high. And the seat is full of presents, and the rangers take you on a tour of the city past houses with chimneys on, and you grab the presents with the controls and you throw them into the chimneys and try and get a score. And it's brilliant. I had to go.
Cool.
It's really cool, man. And so that was yesterday. I had another go before podding because I hadn't actually had a go because Sam knew how to do it and I didn't. And so I followed his lead and walked off the plank, which I did not like because he just fell straight in. I swear, I felt like I would fall over from that. But then Sam found out something else because when I watched him, he had to go after me, and I watched him, and he grasped the pole with the controllers and slid gracefully down the pole, and I was like, that's what you do. Well done, Sam.
Awesome.
He's a better gamer than me already. So we both had a good circuit. And it's playing this beautiful Christmas music. The rangers look amazing. You're on this massive Santa sleigh. It's full of presents, and you're just throwing them out there to the chimneys. I think I got about 35, which means next in line on the Santa throne. It says. So it's just awesome. And I was thinking about it, and when I was Sam's age, to have took a ride round a city on Santa's sleigh, throwing presents into chimneys would have been amazing. And I said that to Claire last night. I was like, that's amazing. But Sam's not even bothered. He doesn't realise, does he? And he doesn't. And Claire was like, no, it's just normal to him. And I was like, giving him these experiences, it's just normal. And it's kind of like, that's fantastic. But I wish he'd be like, wow. I mean, he did like it. But to him, it's just another VR. It's just normal for me to just say, try this. And I was just like, man, when I was a kid, imagine it. It's just like being Father Christmas, man, delivering presents. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So if you've got VR, I've actually got in touch with them. I've reached out to them, as they say, to ask them if they're going to bring this experience to PSVR, because I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. And then you could enjoy it too. And $1 at the moment, in December, $1 from every sale of the game. It's only like $5.99. $1 from every sale is going to go towards UNICEF.
Right.
So, even though they're selling the game for a cheap price, they're donating to charity as well. So, there's sort of no reason not to get this game. It's cheap. This is just one experience of it. There's the plank bit. There's this Santa simulator. There's also a bit where you use one pad as a jetpack and another one as a hose, and you fly around the city putting out fires. It could almost be pilot wings in a way.
That's awesome. That sounds so cool.
It's really good. So I thought I'd mention that. And just
as
it's Christmas, man, I've had an experience of flying around a city, throwing presents into chimneys. And I tell you something, I'm surprised Father Christmas is quite the portly chap he is, because it's quite a workout twisting your core. Twisting your core like that. So I may be doing a bit more, actually. It's a bit of a training regime.
See, what you're not doing is when you're going down the chimney, you're not eating the mince pie and swigging the brandy, are you? See, that's where you're kind of not. See, that's where Santa gets his calories from.
This is a very quick. You see, they don't stop and let me go down the chimney. Maybe that's going to be another update.
So
I'm missing out on the full story. Obviously, they're going to bring out that part of the story at a later date.
Exactly, you should have a big glass of something and a whole pile of mince pies, and every time you throw a present down, take a bite.
That'd be a good one, just to see how you have like a bottle of whiskey or something. And this is a proper party game. So every present goes down the chimney, you've got to have a swig of whiskey and a mince pie. See who lasts the longest.
See how long it becomes until you're drunk Santa.
Drunk and throwing up in VR. Brilliant. So that's my games of the week. What about you?
Oh, fantastic. Well, like I say, I've been playing Overcooked, lots of Overcooked, getting through that. But last week, I did mention it last week on the podcast, but last week, straight after the pod, I went downstairs, chucked on PlayStation VR, fired up Star Wars Battlefront, and played the VR mission of VR missions. I did the X-Wing Rogue One, which we haven't spoken about. Comes out this week. We'll probably speak about it more next week once we've seen it. But I played the Rogue One Star Wars Battlefront VR mission, and holy moly, is that fantastic! It is just absolutely superb. It starts, so you start, it's a separate item in the menu. So you go into Battlefront, and it says, do you want to play the VR mission? So you play the VR mission, and it takes you into this other area, which is completely white. And then suddenly I'm just hearing this like, shh, boom, this big noises. I've got my headphones on, these big noises, and I look to my left, and there's an AT-AT, because I'll say AT-AT because I'm old. There's an AT-AT walking towards me, and the sense of scale on this thing was incredible. I'm just kind of looking up. I now know what Luke Skywalker feels like when he takes him out in Empire Strikes Back. It was just fantastic. This thing just walks from left to right, just goes completely past you, which was absolutely fantastic. And then you press.
Did that feel like it was 1-to-1 scale? So the proper equivalent of it being a real AT-AT, so you're proper craning your neck to see the top.
Absolutely. I think it could have done with being just a little bit bigger, but it was still incredible. It was still absolutely incredible. I was just sitting down, and to see that, and you're right, too, when it started walking, when it was right in front of me, I really had to move back to kind of see how the thing in all of its splendour, but it was just absolutely superb. And then so you then went in, you went into the kind of to start the mission. There was a little astromech droid, a little red one that was kind of beeping around, which was fantastic, and that was just kind of seeing that. So then you got to walk around or zoom round your the X-wing. So before you kind of sat in the cockpit and took off, you actually got to walk around the X-wing. So you got to walk around from all different angles, have a look at it, kind of take a look, and that felt like it was true scale, kind of how big these things would be. And then there was one zoom point, so it was a bit like Arkham VR, where you can look at something, press a button, and you can just jump. So you press X and you just jump to that point. And there was one point where it was kind of at the back but raised. It was almost on like a little platform, and that just made it look incredible. I was just there looking at an X-wing, something I've always wanted to do, since I was a kid. I was there, and it was like, that's my X-wing, that's my X-wing fighter. So I kind of looked around, and then I zoomed into the cockpit, and you could look at the cockpit, and then you could then do it once more, and then you were sitting down. Now, the best thing about kind of sitting down in this cockpit is when you looked down, you could just see your X-wing pilot uniform, the orange jumpsuit, and when you look down, you could just see your belly, the kind of fighter's belly, and the legs, and it was just so well done. That was exactly where my belly was. And it was incredible. It was just like, it really was just absolutely perfect. So I'm sitting there, the cockpit goes down, and then they said, right, okay, we're ready to go, and then you just press a button and you launch this X-wing. And it was just so good, it was just, and so when you're in space, the first thing you do is you meet up with a group of people. It's about a 20-minute experience. Once you've taken off, I probably spent about 10 to 15 minutes just looking around this thing. But once I took off, it was about a 20-minute experience. And the best thing was, when you're in space and you're kind of grouping up with another squadron, you can just press a button on the dash, and so you look at the dash and you press it, and then your wings kind of lock in an attack position, and then you do it again and they go back down, and obviously you're looking left and looking, and you can look behind and you can see the droid behind you, and it was just awesome. It was just so amazing. I just had this ginormous grin on my face the entire time. But I think the best thing was, later on, kind of in this experience, a Super Star Destroyer just appears from nowhere, kind of jumps out of hyperspace, and then you then have to take out some things in the Super Star Destroyer, and you fly. At one point, I flew behind its engines. Not a good thing to do. I'm not a good pilot, obviously, but I flew behind his engines, and from the left, and in my left ear, all you could hear was this roar of the engines, and it was just so good, and then you look at it, and then you get it in both ears, and it just worked so well. And then and it was really funny, because when you're flying in space, it didn't feel very fast, but the moment I had the Super Star Destroyer underneath me, I felt like I had to take the throttle down a bit because I was going so fast. But it was just absolutely fantastic. You jumped into hyperspace a couple of times, destroyed lots of TIE fighters, took out the Super Star Destroyer, and just geeked out like a big Star Wars fanboy that I am. It was absolutely fantastic. I was just, if I never played, and I will play lots more, but if I never played another PlayStation VR game, I've got my money's worth in that 20 minutes, because I just think that was absolutely superb.
Amazing, man. It's like the game VR was built for, or the experience that VR was built for. I mean, I can't play it, as I've sulked about a few times, but I tell you, I agree. If that came out on Vive, or if I'd bought a PSVR, that's all I'd need. You know, Christmas morning, let's imagine that lying on the floor with the VR Battlefront Star Wars VR mission. That'd be me. I'd just be like, wow. And like you say, it reminds me of when I was explaining to you about when I first played Elite Dangerous in VR. And you look down and you see the legs of the person, but they're your legs, and you look around, and it's just bewildering that you're looking around, because that's what gives you that presence, isn't it? You look over your shoulder and you see space. Or
when I looked over my
droid, which is even better.
Exactly. When I looked behind me and I saw a little R2 unit, I kind of let out a little squeak. I was like, oh my God. You know, I was just like, it was just so funny. I mean, it was just, it was incredible.
I was holding the squeaks in while you told the story. And when you were saying then about looking left and right, I was actually looking left and right over my shoulders, sort of replicating it. I'm doing it now, right? Replicating it, imagining what you'd see, and looking at the wings at the side, opening and closing, and you're there. It's you're in that cockpit that you've known since you were a kid. It's awesome.
Oh, it was just so good, honestly. And it was really funny because it kind of when it finished, I did play it twice, but when it finished, I was like, oh, you know, I want more. I want the next mission, because I was actually expecting a Death Star run or something like that, but the Death Star doesn't appear. So, you know, Battlefield 2, you know, add some extra VR stuff, you know, put these classic Star Wars experiences. You know, if they had Empire Strikes Back, Battle of Hoth, one of the or both of the Death Star runs, and then obviously you could have the one from the latest movie from Force Awakens. If they just had those, I would just be so happy.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably pretty wise, you know. This has been brought out to whet everyone's appetites. Surely they must be on making a PSVR game. It would be their best thing to do. And then we could have a pod racer level. We could have the Cloud City battle. Any cockpit battle, but yeah, the Cloud City one. Like you say, the Death Star runs. Oh man, Hoth, snow speeder on
going through. I mean, they do it a bit in this experience where you have to take out large chunks, you know, like meteors, you know, a bit like Empire Strikes Back, where they land on that planet.
Yeah.
But imagine having that, but behind you, you're dogfighting Boba Fett or something like that. You know, my mind just raced, and it was really funny because I kind of played it quite late. I then also jumped into Rogue One Scarif Beach mission as well, which I'll get to in a moment. But I then went to bed and I just laid there, and my mind was just, I got myself, you know, we just had a pod, you know, and it was quite late already, you know, and I just laid there and my mind was racing. The previous week that happened before the Game Awards, and I ended up just like putting our page together and then kind of staying up. I almost did that again because I was so wired from playing it. I think Nicola was just about to go to sleep, and then I kind of ran upstairs going, have a guess what? This is just fantastic. And it was just really amazing. I mean, if you have the PlayStation VR and PSVR and you have Star Wars Battlefront, it's well worth kind of jumping in. I wouldn't potentially buy Star Wars. I probably would buy Star Wars Battlefront because it's really cheap right now, but I wouldn't buy Star Wars Battlefront just for that, because it is over quite quickly. But at the same time, the 20 minutes that I had, the quality of that 20 minutes was incredible. And for me, you know, if anybody, next time I show someone VR, that's what I'm showing, especially if it's someone kind of who is a Star Wars fan, that they're getting that, you know, because that really does. And we spoke about it last week, but with Batman and with Resident Evil 7 and with Star Wars Battlefront, you know, just those alone, you know, and I'm not even the other games that I played, 100-Foot Robot Golf and Headmaster and all those games. These are all just like, as much as we're talking about the experiences, but they are experiences, but the quality that you're getting from those four, and especially Star Wars Battlefront, was just amazing.
Yeah, they might be experiences. I mean, Resident Evil 7 hopefully will be the start of more, you know, fully fleshed games, but the experiences that we have got at the moment, they're experiences worth having. They really are.
Indeed.
They really are. And yeah, it's. Did it have any Admiral Akbar sound bites in mid-battle?
No, I would have loved that. If they were, it's a trap, you know, I would have been like, that's it, I'm done.
I just want Rogue Leader on the GameCube in VR.
Yeah.
That's what I want. The first level, because that's the Death Star one, isn't it? You know,
yes.
Remember that opening scene?
Yes.
Red Ron standing by and all that. Oh, man. I'd do anything for it. And I think we're going to get it. We're going to get something very similar. And my goodness me, I'm so excited about that. So I picture you what you're saying and your enjoyment, and I'm there, man. I'm right with you. I just wish I could be in an X-Wing too.
I just need you to get to Tunbridge Wells. You need to come down to Tunbridge Wells. We'll give you a patch as you come through the Kent County border for patches for your elbows. And then you can
day one patch.
Yeah. You imagine that there's a little border going, can we see your elbows, please, sir? And
I've shown them the ticket. They say, no, we don't want to see that.
Yeah. So I played that, which was absolutely fantastic, and then I said I also jumped into because I bought the season pass for Star Wars Battlefront on PlayStation 4. So I also played Rogue One Scarif Beach. So this is obviously Rogue One is out this week. We're only a couple of days away from Rogue One, which I'm very excited about. I'm now kind of going a bit dark on the internet. I don't want to see any reviews or any of the spoilers, so I'm just really kind of staying away. But Rogue One Scarif Beach is a really good mission. There's a really good kind of level. There was there's a little bit of space battle similar to the Death Star level that you were playing a couple of weeks ago, but there's also, you're down on Scarif Beach. There's an AT-AT kind of in the background, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I had a good kind of time on that as well, and I was really enjoying it. Star Wars Battlefront just keeps giving. I love it. It's such a great game.
Yeah, it's good, and it's kind of good the way that they made it. They simplified it down a little bit, but it means that you can sort of drop it and pick it up again and be sort of okay. You're not completely blinded by the skills of everyone else because of the way that they've designed it. So it's quite good. I mean, I picked it up for the Death Star DLC, and I was getting beaten quite a lot at first because I didn't know the map, but even with my old weapons and stuff, I felt like I could hold my own. I wasn't coming last every time after a few goes. Whereas on something like Call of Duty, I'd just be getting mullered because everybody would be like prestiged, up to the nth degree and have all this special stuff. Whereas I kind of felt it was a bit more level playing on Battlefront, and it's just it's Star Wars, isn't it? Gets a free pass. Yeah, it shouldn't do, but it does.
But it does. It is fantastic and it's awesome. So that's what we've been playing. Let's start the news section. And in this week's news section, the mighty PS4 hits another huge milestone. Super Nintendo World is coming. I'm so excited. Super Nintendo World is coming, and Sea of Thieves gets Sea of Thieves technical alpha set sail. So Darren, the first piece of news is with you.
Yeah, it is. And what's this about? It's the PS4 hitting 50 million sales now. It's been announced.
Wow.
So, wow, what a milestone. It's taken.
What an epic.
It's epic, isn't it? It is. It's taken them longer, though, as you'd expect, to hit the sort of... We got 30 and then 40 million announced quite quickly. 50 million has taken a little longer to hit by a good few months. But yeah, they've hit 50 million, which is massive. So I thought, in honour of 50 million PS4 sales, let's have a look at how the other consoles have sold. The consoles of yore. So let's have a look. So, number one selling console was the PS2.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. According to this graph I've got in front of me, which I'll find out from Business Insider.
Right, so, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't find out who it was from.
Trusted. I trust them. I trust them.
According to this chart that I've just drawn on A4 in front of me. Yeah. So according to Business Insider with Statista, they say that the PS2 sold the most, 158 million.
Wow.
So, the PS4 is, it's third of the way thereabouts. And obviously this is from PS2's been out a lot longer, hasn't it, than the PS4. Next comes the PlayStation that sold 104 million.
Wow.
The Wii is next. I mean, I think I might have expected the Wii to be top, because of this whole sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Just the rate of selling, the press sort of explosion with it all.
And also the user base of the Wii. My mum and dad, they bought a Wii. I went up at Christmas, showed them like Wii Sports and stuff like that. And the next time I called them, they'd got a Wii. They called me one Saturday and I was like, we bought a Wii. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like
that universal
the people
thing,
yeah, exactly. The same people that told me that I was wasting my time playing games and now bought themselves the console, and they were having little tournaments every night. It was just so. I'm with you. I would have expected the Wii to be at least higher than maybe the PlayStation, because back when PlayStation 2 was around, everybody had a PlayStation 2. Even people I didn't know, a bit like the Wii. Even not my parents, but people kind of my age who weren't really into gaming, they bought a PS2. Maybe for Wi-Fi Wipeout or for something like that. It just seemed to be very much kind of that thing to do at that point.
Yeah, maybe for the DVD player.
Yes,
it was just a DVD back then, wasn't it? Because when DVD players, it was very, very similar to what we're talking about these days with the 4K Blu-ray players and the Xbox One S. DVD players. I remember the first one I bought. It was like £500 for a DVD player. It just come out. I got my Sony. Oh man, my beautiful CRT Sony. What was the name of it? It was a special sort of true flat screen or something, which was rare.
Oh, that Sony PlayStation-y kind of it matched the PlayStation, didn't it? That TV.
It did. It actually did.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
Yes.
I never thought of it that way, but it did. So I had one of them, and I got the 32, which was massive at the time, of this Sony telly. It weighed a blooming ton. And I'd never moved house, really, until I bought that TV. And then I moved house about 20 times to London and stuff, and carried that TV from area to area, broke my back going upstairs on flats. Well, wonderful days of TVs that were like that. But I had that TV, and I was like, right, we're buying our first house together, because it was me and Claire got our first house. It's like, we're never going to be able to afford to go out again, because we're buying a house. And I was like, well, I'm going to need a TV and a DVD player. So we bought this TV and we bought this DVD player. The DVD was like £500. And then when the PS2 came out, that had a DVD in it, didn't it? It's the same sort of thing. So, maybe it did have a little bit of an effect like that. And I was a bit surprised about that. So, 158 million for PS2, 104 million for the original PlayStation. Wii at 102 million, so not much in it between those two. PS3, 86 million, coming in next at number 4. Xbox 360, 5th with 85 million. So that was a close race, wasn't it? I'm actually very surprised, because me and all my friends, it was all about the Xbox 360.
Yes. It really was. I really thought they kind of, quote unquote, won that generation. But I guess sales just keep going with the PlayStation, and even now, PlayStation and Xboxes are selling even now.
Yeah, I mean, when they got cheaper, my parents bought a PS3 because of the Blu-ray player.
Yeah,
they had that console because of that, because they went to whatever PC World or Dixon's or whatever, and it was like, well, you can have this Blu-ray player for £250, or you can have a PS3. And they got a PS3 because they thought they got extra functionality, and it kind of made the TV smart in a day that TVs weren't smart, because it's got all those other things on it. So then you got the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, at 62 million, followed by the PS4 at 50 million. After that, Super Nintendo, 49 million. So there's some close numbers here.
Yes.
The N64, 33 million, and the Sega Genesis, or if you're in the UK, the Mega Drive, 30 million units sold. So yeah, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the PlayStation is well on its way to. So it's like 50 million. We're just over halfway, aren't we? Really, if we look at the last generation and normal generations, I would say we're about halfway.
Yeah, I agree. And so that's best-selling video game home consoles of all time. Estimated unit sales as of December 2016. So yeah, you've got. So say we're halfway through, you'd expect it to hit 100. But then, but it's going to slow down as more and more people get them. But then it's going to cheapen as well, isn't it? The price is going to drop, so that might instill more sales. So I was going to say, well, everyone that wants one's going to get one, so it will slow down. But if they reduce the price, it will make it more accessible to more people, which is obviously the tactic. So it may just steadily go up. I don't know if if we give it its life again, the time it's had again, and say that's its life in double the time, I'm not sure if that would go to 100 mil or not. I'd expect it to maybe trail off and hit like 70 or 80. I suppose it just depends what alternatives there are and what price it ends up being.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, it's well on the way to kind of beating the PlayStation 3, isn't it? Because we've only had it for... How long has the PlayStation 4 been out? 3 years?
Crikey, that's a good question. Yeah, it must be coming up to 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be coming up to 3. So yeah, 2013. It was launched in November 2013. So we're just over the 3-year birthday of the PlayStation 4. So the PlayStation 3 was out for ages.
Yeah, it's like 7 or 8 years, wasn't it? Yeah.
And we're close on that. So this is definitely going to be kind of, the PlayStation 4 is definitely going to be up there with the PlayStation and the Wii, I reckon, by end of life.
Yeah. So give it another few years. If it goes past 102 mil. It'll be a Sony top 3. You'll have the PS2, the PlayStation, and the PS4 all together. That's amazing, considering they came into the whole console industry late in the game compared to your Sega and Nintendo. Microsoft were late in as well, even later, in fact. So them being in there is quite an achievement. But yeah, the Sony came in, not till what, 89? Was it 89?
Yeah.
Roundabout, I think it was 89. They hit that with that and came in against all these established brands, and they knocked it out of the park. It's really amazing. In fact, it seems to be that they're lucky that they've got this console sector, because a lot of their other areas are losing money, reports are saying. So it's good to see that they're profitable here anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I read a report today that they're thinking that there was rumours, there was rumours that they're going to be merging the movie and the gaming departments of Sony together, because the movie section of Sony isn't making a lot of money at the moment, but the consoles are, so they're trying to, Andrew Howes will probably be looking after both of them and kind of looking after them. So yeah, no, definitely, it definitely is a big seller for Sony.
Yeah.
So it's really
and a saviour. Yeah, I saw a report and it said Nathan Drake saves Spider-Man.
That's so cool. That's it. Well, Marvel are going to save Spider-Man. Did you see that new trailer for the Spider-Man movie?
I saw in that report, it showed a few frames of it, and I was like, crikey, why haven't I seen this? So I haven't seen it yet.
My God, it was amazing.
I saw
it was amazing.
3 frames,
it finishes with an amazing last shot. I won't spoil it for anyone. Stick it in the show notes for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. But it's absolutely incredible. Just look, I'm so glad that that Marvel now have Spider-Man back from Sony, because it's just absolutely fantastic. All they need to do now is get X-Men and Fantastic Four, and then we'll be sorted. We'll have proper superhero movies. So it's fantastic. And so that's that. The next piece of news is with me and Nintendo. Nintendo, it's good to be talking about Nintendo again. Nintendo have announced that their tie-in with Universal Studios, they confirmed early in the year that they're going to be having something in Universal Studios in Osaka, Orlando and Hollywood, but the first one of those have been revealed, and it's going to be in Japan by 2020. So to coincide with the Olympics in Japan, they're going to be opening up Super Nintendo World in Universal Studios Japan, and the little artwork that they released on Twitter this week just made me grin so much. It was basically your Mario Luigi jumping out of the Universal Studio logo, but they had a mock-up of what Super Nintendo World is going to look like, and obviously there was a Princess Peach castle. There was something that very much looked very kind of green hilly, very kind of World 1 of Super Mario, and in the distance you had a Bowser castle as well. So it just looks absolutely fantastic. And a couple of things that they said, a couple of the rides that they're already kind of looking at, the attractions that they're looking at. One is based around the Donkey Kong boom tube, when Donkey Kong, when it fires you into the next level. So you can imagine that being a bit like a Space Mountain, and also a Mario Kart attraction as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'd love to just be, that would be so cool if you actually got to drive around karts and there was something that enabled you, or maybe double dash style, have someone on the back kind of throwing out red shells, and then your car span, if it was hit by this kind of imaginary red shell, would just be absolutely fantastic. I would absolutely love this. So I just showed Nicola and I just went, I want to go to Japan. I was just like, it looked absolutely fantastic. Can you imagine me coming back like decked in Nintendo merchandise?
Yeah, like a sort of Mario Ali G.
Yes. Yeah.
The massive chain with an M on it.
That would just be so cool. I already have my NES Vans, so I would just be like completely decked out. So, like I say, I'll put a link to the picture, or I'll put the picture in the show notes. But it was just such a lovely sight to see, especially the like I say, the World 1, Level 1 kind of style area, and lots of mushrooms, of course, and lots of tunnels. So it just looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Japan. It's like the one place in the world
me too.
To go to. I love the fact the sort of future meets the past. The tradition meeting the cutting edge. I just love Japan so much. I'll probably never get there because I'm scared of flying. And I've tried before to plot the route over land, but avoiding war-torn countries is quite difficult, or countries that don't like people from Britain is quite difficult. Plus the cost and all the rest of it. So I'll probably never get there. It's really bad. But maybe one day when I'm older. But yeah,
you just need to give you some kind of Samsung VR. Stick VR on, so you're playing VR whilst you're in the plane. You won't even know you're taking off. You'll just still be kind of walking a plank as Father Christmas or something, and you won't know that you're on a plane.
I need to be treated like Mr. T in the A-Team. I need to give me a sandwich and just knocks me out, and then I just wake up, and that would be okay. So that'd be nice. I'm so interested in Japan. I tried to find like a documentary, like a Michael Palin thing. But just about going around Japan, like they do with different countries, or like go to Russia. I couldn't find one for Japan, and it was really annoying because I'm really interested in their culture, and I couldn't really find anything. So if anybody's got any suggestions, any listeners know of any good sort of documentaries or programs about Japan, I'd really love to hear about them, because I'd love to just watch everything that I can about their culture. I really love it. But yeah, you said it's going to coincide with the Olympics. It's like, that's why isn't there anyone in the stadium? Nintendo World's just opened around the corner.
You can imagine this is going to be... I mean, even when they announced, or when they had at the end of the Rio Olympics, and they showed the kind of advert for Japan and the coming Olympics, they had Mario all over that, didn't they, as well? And, Nintendo are really... I mean, a lot of people think that Nintendo are going to, they'll stop being console makers, they'll just be software makers. But I just don't see it, because they're throwing so much money behind this. Even Super Mario Run that you were talking about, that's out, probably by the time you listen to this will be out, that got a huge advert in the US, where they were showing kind of in Times Square, and it just looked absolutely fantastic. The graphics were amazing. The Mario kind of for the advert, you just see him kind of running to Times Square and then jumping into a tunnel, and it was just looked absolutely amazing. And they are serious about this stuff, because that was some serious money spent on all that advertising, and this obviously doesn't come cheap either.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all good, isn't it?
Oh, it's really good. I'm very excited about this. There's this. I mean, I was wishing it would come to Orlando, because we've got some Star Wars stuff coming to Orlando in a couple of years' time, and so I was like, it's time to go back. So I was hoping I would get both of them in at the same time, but it looks like this is Japan rather than Orlando, but still, just looks absolutely fantastic. So that's the Osaka Universal Studios in 2020.
Wow.
So, Daz, next piece of news is with you.
Yeah, so this is about WCCF Tech had a chat with the guys behind Ark Survival Evolved, which is quite a good interview, so I'll put that in the show notes. But the point that I thought was worth mentioning is that they had a little discussion about the PS4 Pro, and the devs there equated the PS4 Pro's performance to PC specs. And I thought this was quite interesting. So how did they put it? Well, they put it that the PS4 Pro performance is equivalent to a $900 PC. Really high benchmark for a console, they said. So I just thought that was really cool. This was their lead programmer and co-founder of the Ark guys, Studio Wildcard, Jeremy Stieglitz, I hope I got that right. Jeremy Stieglitz, it might be. And he put it this way. This is the quote. They asked him, "What do you think of Sony's PS4 Pro performance as a dev? Were you impressed by the hardware or not?" He came back with, "Very impressed with the performance at a very reasonable price. We estimate that it would cost at least $900 to build a similarly powerful PC, and that's if you were custom building it with extreme cost control. We estimate its raw GPU performance is similar to an Nvidia 970, and along with CPU improvements and overall more memory, it's a really high benchmark for console performance. Hats off to Sony for crossing the Rubicon of console hardware updates. And it's a bonus that it tends to improve performance in just about every existing title in the PlayStation 4 library." So that's just a great soundbite, giving us sort of a developer's perspective on where it sits within PC hardware, where it sits on the scale. And I thought that was really interesting, because my nephew wants a gaming PC for Christmas, and it's a tall order. So his parents and himself have asked me what I thought. He sent me a link to a PC that looked quite amazing. It was £350, this PC. The case was amazing, but a case is just a case. It's what's inside that counts, and it wouldn't do anywhere near what he wanted it to do. So I said, "I'll do my best for you. What's your budget?" And he said £400. I was like, okay. So, secondly, just to mitigate the fact that what I think is good and what he thinks is good could be different things, I asked him what he expected out of the machine that he wants, which is the most important question, because it's quite precarious. I can't go around recommending a Christmas present for somebody, and then they open it and it's like, yeah, well, there's your PC for 400 quid, but it doesn't do anything. It's all right for Word, it's all right for browsing. So he said that he would be happy if it ran something like Watch Dogs 2 at 720, or 1080 maybe. So I went about trying to piece together a PC for £400, and I failed. I couldn't do it. And I thought that I might be able to because, and we said this before about the PS4 Pro, when we were talking about 4K, and I did that breakdown of like what 4K meant and what Sony were doing and everything. And it's kind of annoying that you can get a whole PS4 Pro that's giving pretty much, even if it's not 4K, critics are saying, or pundits are saying, or experts are saying, that really you'd be hard pushed to know the difference between what the PlayStation 4 is pushing out as a checkerboarded 4K compared to real 4K. They say it's an amazing improvement anyway, even if it's not quite 4K. And that's for 350 quid for a PS4 Pro. So I kind of thought that you might be able to, but you can't. Or maybe some listeners saying yes, you can, and all right, that's fine. Hands up.
I doubt it.
Maybe I failed somehow, but I went on all sorts of websites trying to price the components, and I managed to sort of. The best I could get was about 380 quid, 350 quid for everything that would sort of do it. But guess what? Not the graphics card.
Wow.
So you had to get the graphics card on top. So say if you got the Radeon, what is it called? The Radeon 480 card, which is cheap but good. You're still looking at, say, 180 to 200 quid on top. Or if you've got a second-hand one, say 130 quid, it's still pushed it to 530. And then on top of that, this guy's new to it, so he'd need a monitor, keyboard and a mouse. And I was just like, I can't do it. And I tried all sorts of ways to do it, and I could not do it. And I hate failing at a task like that. I thought I might be able to do it, and I could not do it. I could not do it for 400 quid. And the closest I got, I gave him a big old lengthy reply. I said, look, sorry, mate. You're off by about, at best, well, you could stretch to it 500 quid maybe, but you're going to be at the bottom of the ladder with it. It'll just do what you want, but you're not going to be very future-proofed. Really, I think to start in gaming PC world, you're going to need around 600 quid. And you're getting this PS4 Pro that's doing almost 4K, and 4K as well, for some stuff, for 350 quid. So I think it's amazing, and I just thought this piece of news just kind of emphasised that first of all, it's a wonder what they're doing. It's great that you can get that all in a box, and it's a low power consumption. I mean, my power supply on my PC is something like 600 watt.
Wow.
The PS4 I think is about 160, 180 watt. So they're getting all this performance out of like low power consumption, small form factor. This is a dream for you, isn't it? Because you like everything to be neat as well. You don't want a behemoth of a PC in the room.
No.
And again, like I said, as the conclusion to that 4K thing that we did, it's kind of like if Sony can get the PS4 Pro to do this for 400 quid, including everything that you need. I know it doesn't include a screen and stuff, but it does include a controller, doesn't it? And and power and everything. It kind of makes a mockery of the cost of graphics cards on the PC. Or surely the graphics cards on PC should be able to do more. It's as if it's kind of like, oh well, I think it's just because they change so much. It's like you can only develop for the next thing. They're not around long enough to be able to draw everything out of them. That might be it. But it's kind of frustrating. It's kind of frustrating when I think that my graphics card, my 980 Ti, I think it was either 399 or 499, and I can't remember which. But either way, you can get a PS4 Pro for that kind of money. And that was actually, and I've said this before as well, why I went from PC gaming after buying. I did a big upgrade for Half-Life 2. And I got some Nvidia card that was great at the time. It was like the best one. And I bought it and it didn't run right. And the reason was because my power supply at the 350 watts wasn't enough, so I had to go out and buy another power supply. I'm not moaning about that. That was okay. But then when the 360 came out with its HD gaming, it was kind of like for the cost of the graphics card, never mind the power supply, I can have a console. So I understand the argument, and I know I've got a PC now, but I understand the argument for not having a PC. But the argument for having a PC, if it's to have the best, it's kind of like, yes, you'll always get the best if you pay loads of money for it, but what they're getting bang for buck out of this machine, and presumably what we're going to get out of Scorpio, it's as if consoles are going to start out. If the curve carries on like that, consoles could potentially outmatch PCs with none of the hassle. They'll be cheaper. I know there'll be a closed system, but they could become the master race for graphics, which has always been a bit of an argument for having a PC.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your nephew's reasoning around kind of getting a PC for that much, whether he could get a PS4 Pro, which does improve 1080p if you've just plugged it into a 1080p TV? What was his reasoning behind the whole kind of PC, getting a PC?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still confused about it because I asked the same question. I was like, look, you've got a PS4. His brother, who's younger, wants a PS4 Pro. And I said, well, my recommendation was, are you getting a 4K TV? It's like, no. And I said, well, I wouldn't get one for a while because, it does improve some games at 1080p, but some of them run worse on the.
Yes.
Some of the games actually run better on the base PS4 model than they do on the PS4 Pro in 1080 mode, which is bizarre. Some run better, obviously. Unless it's like a negligible difference in cost, I suppose. If it's only a few quid, it's only 50 quid for the Pro. Then get the Pro, whatever. But I didn't really know why, because I was kind of thinking, like, Lucas, you want to. He's got a PS4 already anyway. But I was kind of like, you're going to get a PC for this price that performs worse than your PS4, and I didn't understand it. He said he'd got a friend that got one that could do this, and in the end, I was just like, if you really have got a friend that's got a PC that can do what you want, then just find the specs of everything and just buy that exactly, and then I can't be blamed or anything because I wouldn't want to be like responsible for it.
Yes.
And he sent me a link. He said, "Will this do what I want?" He'd found a PC from an online shop. It's actually where I bought my PC from. So I had my own thoughts, and then I did my own checking, and then I thought, you know what? I'll just go to the store and see what they say. See if they say, Daz, you're a fool. You can do it for 200 quid, or if they concur with what I think. So I emailed them. And I said, yeah, I got my PC from you guys 6 months ago, really happy with it, blah, blah, blah. Just wondering, could I get a PC that could run Watch Dogs 2 or like that standard of game at 720p/1080 for £400? I didn't say, because by the way, you've got a link on your site to a inverted commas gaming PC for 370 quid or whatever it is. I just asked that question. It said, for 400 quid, could you do it? And they came back to me and just said, nah, you can't really, because the trouble is games like that need dedicated graphics and they are expensive. That's what's going to push the cost up. If you didn't need dedicated graphics, you could probably do it. And that PC that he sent me and the ones that I spec'd up, the motherboards do come with graphics on board, but it's kind of like, what would that do? I don't know how to benchmark or test that really. It'd be probably run Minecraft or something. Probably run a lot more than that these days, but it's not something that I'd be able to officially say, oh, that'll run this at that resolution and things like that. So I don't know how powerful motherboard, like onboard graphics are these days. I'm sure they're a lot better than the last time I used a motherboard integrated graphics, which is a long time ago. I mean, my laptop over here is ancient. It's about 5 years old, and that'll run Minecraft on it. But, I said, we're talking different worlds here. We're talking about Watch Dogs, talking about the latest games, and it seems that they need that added horsepower even to run at a low res, low textures and things. So I had to let it go. But getting back to the point, it just sort of looking for a PC, sort of the most budget PC that I could possibly get that could run the games that me and you and our listeners are used to playing on consoles at that kind of rate, was by and large, as far as I could find, much more expensive than buying a console. And it's kind of, it's interesting. It's interesting. And it makes me think, I know you can do a lot more with PCs, but it's just surprising that because they're not a closed system, and people might say, oh, you're crazy, it's because of this and this and this. And if that's the case, I'm happy to be corrected. I don't know. But it just strikes me that surely you could get more out of the PC cards, out of the PC hardware, if you can do that on a closed system, but maybe it's just because of all the different multiple components in a PC that you're trying to cater to so much mixture. And we've talked about that before, because Dr. Richard Marks said about VR when we hadn't even heard about the PS4 Pro. He was saying the thing is, the PS4 is actually the equivalent of sort of a PC, sort of a third or 40% or something higher than the actual PS4 is, and that's because it's a closed system and we haven't got all these other components to worry about. One update for everybody. So maybe it's just that, it's the fact that it's the same for everybody, one flavour for all, and PCs are just a multitude of different components but plugged in together, and the developers have got to take all that into account, and that kind of a hardware abstraction layer, that API or that all that middleware in between all those components takes a bit of the oomph out. And maybe if PCs were all the same, well, they wouldn't be PCs, but if they were all the same, then maybe we'd be seeing more power, as we see here. I think I've answered my own question there. So there you go. Sorry for the tirade.
But that's really interesting. So has he gone off and your nephew, has he gone off and got the specs from his friend's PC?
I don't know what he's doing now. It was only the other day. I texted him the bad news. So I'll find out at Christmas, I suppose. We'll see what happens. Because I did, it's just a harsh thing, man. It's a harsh thing.
Yeah. Could you get something like that and then overclock them? Is that a possibility to kind of get more juice out of things?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can, but you're not gonna. If something you're not gonna be able to overclock something. You can't do it. You can't get a silk purse out of a sow's ear.
You go, awesome.
Right. I'll put I'll put for my nephew's PC problems aside. I'll put the link to the interview in the show notes. Because that is quite an interesting read, and it's nice just to see what the devs think about the architecture that they're working with now.
Excellent stuff. Next piece of news is with me, and it's the Sea of Thieves Technical Alpha has been announced. So last week, I think just after we podded, Rare have announced as part of their insider program, they announced that the Technical Alpha, so update 1.0, I believe, or 0.1, is being was announced and is being released, and it's going to be released this weekend. So at the time of listening, that's December 16th. So they put up on seaofthieves.com, they put a posting about the technical alpha. They said, as part of our commitment to pulling in player feedback throughout the development, we recently launched the Sea of Thieves Insider program, inviting passionate fans to sign up and share their experiences and suggestions. Today, we're excited to announce that our technical alpha phase will kick off on December 16th with a series of scheduled playtests, and we'll be inviting selected players from the Inside program to join us. And then they also put out really an awesome little kind of Sea of Thieves technical update YouTube clip. So they put a posting up on YouTube. I'll stick a link to the video because it's really good. Just basically just showing what you need to do in the 0.1 version of the game, and it was really good. You start off with there was. I mean, first of all, I've said time and time again, but this game just looks stunning. It's Forza Horizon sunset stunning when you see someone on the seas and you see that sunset kind of setting in the distance. It just looks incredible, and I was just running it at 1080p on the YouTube clip. I did notice it went up to 4K, so I did add it to my watch later so I can fire it up on my TV to see what this thing looks like in 4K. So they showed kind of when you kind of click down on a button, a wheel appeared on the screen and you got to choose, I think, your mission. And one of the missions that they've got, or the only mission that they have in this alpha tech test, was that you have a map. There's X marks the spot of where your treasure is going to be, and then you need to try and work out where it is. So you go down in the low level of your ship, and then there's this really cool map. They've got this really good functionality of this map, and you just see it kind of swishing by. So it's almost like you've got this ginormous iPad on a desk, like a Microsoft Surface, and you're just kind of moving around, and you can see, and you're looking at your map, and you can kind of say, okay, that looks like the island, and then you can then plug in those coordinates, and off you go. And then you can then you and your team, you and your crew need to go and try and find that. So there's no ginormous X on the island, so you have to work out using land icons and little landmass and little things like that. You need to work out where it is, and then you can then dig. You get the treasure, which you then have to then take back to an area to claim your prize. So, and while you're kind of obviously taking it back, other pirates can steal it. So I'm thinking kind of Division, Dark Zone kind of kind of feel to it, that you have this fun kind of getting there. Once you've got it, that's when the tension's going to come, and then you have to then sail back to then kind of hand in your chest and then get money for it. The video clip looks amazing. It did get you kind of quite excited kind of watching that, but it looks really cool. So that's this weekend from December 16th to the December 18th. So it's very close.
It does look really good. Do you know, have we got HDR confirmation on this? Because those sunsets and moons shining in the sky are begging for it.
No. Rare have dodged my question a couple of times on Twitter. I remember when they were doing the Gamescom streaming, they were like, "Ask us any questions." So on the Twitch stream, I was like, "Are we having HDR? It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. Is it HDR? Nothing." And then there was a Twitter thing that was like, "Ask us any questions." I was like, "Love those sunsets. Is it HDR?" Nothing. I was like, "Damn you!" They were just like, they've kind of dodged. But I mean, looking at those sunsets. So, you know, it has to be HDR, surely.
Well, we hope so. It's funny, though, you could say the silence speaks volumes. Maybe they just want to be mischievous and enigmatic with it, or maybe they just think, look, there's loads of good gameplay here, and all you can do is moan about the blooming sunsets.
Yeah. All you want is blacker blacks and whiter whites.
But no, absolutely. Glimpse off the waves, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm sure those cheeky chaps at Twycross are just basically, all they're doing is just kind of keeping all of that sort of stuff for a nice little announcement at some point. But maybe the technical alpha won't have HDR, but the final game will. But it looks like, you know, I've been having over recent kind of nights, been having great fun playing the Division. It kind of reminds me of that, you know, it reminds me of that, of the Dark Zone, of just doing that, you know, kind of just setting sail with a group of guys, you know, you're jumping in, having a laugh, you know, all kind of like very much kind of a mismatch of skills, you know, to just go and do this. What I loved about it, which is kind of what they show in the clip, which I will stick in the show notes, was the fact that, you know, you could detect that those people over there just dug up a chest, so you can then go and take them out. They do show one bit where two ships kind of pull alongside each other, and you can jump from your ship to another ship, or galleon probably. James is probably screaming into his headphones going, "It's a galleon, it's not a ship," or it could be a ship. And then you kind of jump over, and then you could take out the other players, you know, with a gun. So you can actually, and then what happens is they just kind of disappear in this really nice little kind of green ether, and then they go down to the Sea of the Damned, and I'm getting all of the terminology wrong, apologies, Rare. They go down to the Sea of the Damned, which you then can kind of get back into the game, and if you're stranded, you need to find a mermaid, and the mermaid will return you back to the ship. They really gave a lot of what some of the moment-to-moment gameplay is going to be like, especially in this tech test. So it's really interesting. So, like I say, it's happening. As this pod goes live, it's just maybe a day or two away. So it's just it's very exciting for anyone who gets selected. I think they say in the video that there's going to be about 1,000 people. So I'm sure a lot of people signed up for the Insider program. So if you're lucky enough to jump into that, then there's some good times ahead.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and we signed up. Why aren't we on it? Why aren't we on it? Rare.
Yes.
We beseech you, get us on, get us in. We thought we were inside.
We've been backing this game since. I mean, you know, it's really funny. I remember like one of our very first pods was when we had Rare Replay, didn't we? So yeah, we've been constantly saluting those guys.
Yeah,
and you know, I think this Insider program is fantastic because, you know, we moaned earlier, well, not moaned, but we discussed earlier about Final Fantasy, you know, kind of coming out with some needed patch, and this way, not only are Rare kind of testing their code, not only are they kind of really kind of seeing kind of what's happening, but they're also getting feedback from players as well. So I can just think there's going to be lots of kind of pooling over this data, just see what people are doing, you know, where they're engaging, what they're actually up to, how long they stay, and also if anyone has any kind of you know, constructive criticism back as well.
Yeah, it's a great 360 win. You know, the fans are happy. They feed back to Rare, keeps them happy. They can make changes that keep the fans happy. That makes the game sell. That keeps Rare happy. Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait for this game. You know, if they get chosen for the technical alpha, then I'm sure there's going to be more coming up. But, I can't wait to kind of jump into this game because I think, like I say, judging by my 4-player co-op that I've been doing with The Division and Overwatch and stuff like that, I think that this is going to be something special.
Yeah, I really, everything's crossed and it's shaping up to look like it's going to fulfill that optimism.
Absolutely, I just love the art style.
Yeah,
I just absolutely love that art style. I want something as a backdrop. I think you can go to Xbox.com and you can get some backgrounds, like for PC, Mac, and your Xbox, and maybe even your smart devices. But there's just some really nice kind of artwork that comes along with that game.
Yeah, I love the art style. It just makes me think of Monkey Island, and
yes,
it's like if they could have done that with Monkey Island, then they would have. It's kind of that's what it wanted to look like, I think. And now we have that. It's got its own charm and beauty. It's really nice.
Indeed. So that's this weekend. So Daz, the next piece of news, sir, is with you.
Yeah, this is a bit of a sad piece of news, really. But Crytek are in trouble financially, it seems. Which is bad.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's really bad. Crytek have brought great games out over the last many years. The last 10, more than 10, like 16 odd years, bringing us Far Cry games, Crysis using their Cry engine. And they've been in trouble before, and it looks like they're in trouble again. There's a Reddit post that somebody's posted, and it seems to have been verified as being legitimate by different sources and different media outlets. And the guy in question saying that he hasn't been paid, or his co-workers haven't been paid for almost 6 months, which is terrible.
Oh man, that's really bad, isn't it?
It's really bad. The firm seems to be in dire straits financially, and can't meet payroll for the hard-working devs, therein that are trying to make ends meet. And it's Christmas time, and it's not a good story, but I'll read out what he's posted, this anonymous person on Reddit. This is the Reddit quote. I'm not sure where else to turn at this point. This has happened in the past a few times, but never for this long. Management never gives anyone a heads up, and it isn't clear to me if they are getting paid or even informed from the owners. The last time this happened, we were told it would be the last time, and yet it is happening again. Many of my co-workers moved out of the country to work here and are unable to leave because they can't afford to get back home due to their wages being withheld for so long. People are afraid to speak out because we are continuously told, thank you for your continued efforts through this difficult time, and you don't understand because you don't see the whole picture like we do. Wages are coming soon. The brothers had a meeting a few months ago and assured everyone, that's the owners, that the issue was finally fixed and there should be no more problems. That is not the case. People are still working without pay. This just isn't just here in Germany. This is in all our offices as far as I can tell. Upper management refuses to speak to any of us, and our managers have no answers. We have never been apologised to, and they refuse to talk to us. I'm posting this on Reddit as a last resort. What are our options, legally speaking? Is there anything we can do to fight this? So,
wow.
Yeah, there you go.
That's just really. But I wonder where their cash has gone, because they, like I say, I mean, you just read out some really huge games that they've made, and they have been incredibly popular.
Yeah, I don't know. They've got in trouble before, and they did a deal with Amazon for Amazon to use their Cry engine, and that people thought that was it; they were sorted. But I don't know. I think they've made some bad choices. I think they done some VR stuff. I think that hasn't ended up being very profitable. But I don't really know. I don't know the missteps that they have or haven't made to get them into this state. But it's being picked up by sort of the mainstream gaming press now, and it's a sad situation. It's a sad situation. So yeah, Eurogamer's confirmed the sources and talked to people who said they haven't been paid for 2 months, and pay for over the previous 5 months have been delayed by up to 4 weeks. You can imagine how difficult that is. You've got mortgages to pay and Christmas to sort out and one thing and another, and just your life to run without, it's very difficult. So I hope that I hope it gets sorted out, and maybe offer, for what it's worth, the best of luck from us Sparks to the guys at Crytek and Crytek itself. I hope they get a lifeline. It sounds like there's something from the information that I've read. It sounds like there's some kind of deal going on in the background, but it's taking longer than expected. And while all this goes on, it's kind of like everyone's in limbo. It's a terrible thing. I can't imagine having that at a company that I work for. And I worked in the games industry for a little while, and I saw a little bit of this at one of the studios that I worked in, and I got a job in a normal company because I thought it was too fickle. We couldn't handle it anymore. And there's some good places, obviously, but it seems to be, it's kind of fickle, a misstep with the game and that's it. Your studio's gone or whatever, and it can be very difficult. I mean, usually I think you get made redundant and sort of have time to look for another job, but this is kind of the worst thing, when you're in limbo and your pay's just being withheld because you can't do anything. People are resigning on a day-to-day business, are resigning on a just day-to-day at the moment. It's just harsh. And
well, that's it, though, isn't it? If you haven't been paid for like 3 months, at that point you are going to start looking elsewhere, aren't you? But as you say, people have probably moved out to where they're based, and then so it's harder for them to they can't just like up and leave because their entire life is there. So it's such a horrible thing to happen. And I thought the gaming industry had got over this. I thought once we had some really bad shutdowns like THQ and etc., but I thought we were kind of on healthier platforms.
Yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the stomach, really, and it's kind of amazing because Crytek, or the Cry engine itself, is an amazing piece of kit. It's an amazing piece of software, and when I went to E3 with Ubisoft years and years and years and years ago, I think it was 2001 when I went to E3, and my job that I got given was to demo the Cry engine from Crytek, which was a brand new thing. And I was amazed by it. It was an island with dinosaurs walking around it. I can't remember if it had a title then, but I was just calling it the Cry engine. And I loved it. So it was easy for me to sort of gush about it because I was like, look at this, it's amazing. And it was cutting edge, and it's evolved through the years to bring us these games like Crysis and the Far Cry series. And it's just... I'm just a bit shocked that something that's sort of a stellar engine, or a company that's behind such a stellar engine, I wouldn't have expected to hear this from them, so it's just really sad.
Absolutely, and you got Ubisoft are behind all of the Far Cry games. They're all published by Ubisoft Montreal, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you'd expect to see kind of, maybe that's the deal that you were talking about there. Maybe that's the deal that's taken a while. Maybe Ubisoft are going to sweep in and save them and buy them out.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there must have been some deal going on back in the day because when I was demoing it, I was working for Ubisoft. So I don't know. I mean that experience though that doesn't matter. It's my experience, completely irrelevant because it's blooming 15 years ago. But it was amazing then, and the engine's sort of gone from strength to strength. I brought out some quality stuff. It's just surprising and sad. Yeah. So almost to something more happy.
Yes, and it is indeed. It's googly eyes happy, and this is Yooka-Laylee. So we got a bit of an update from Playtonic Games today about Yooka-Laylee. So they basically said mark your calendars because today they can finally confirm that Yooka-Laylee will launch worldwide on April the 11th, 2017 for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, Macs, and Linux. And pre-orders are now available, so you can now actually pre-order it from any of those platforms that I was talking about. If you pre-order it on PC, Xbox One, or PlayStation 4, you will receive an instant unlock of the Yooka-Laylee toy box. Now, this is something you got to play around with, didn't you, Daz? Because I sent you over my backers code.
Yeah, you did, and I think it was just about the time when I had to refrain from podding for a few weeks because I wasn't very well. But yeah, I got to play it on PC. I've still got it, actually, and it's good fun. You'll enjoy it. You'll definitely enjoy it. It's good. I had a problem on PC because the default controls for the pad that I had plugged in were wrong, and I was thinking, this is really weird controls, and then I realised that all the buttons were wrong, and then I set them right, and I was like, yeah, this feels like a proper platformer now. But yeah, it's really cool. It feels really nice to play, and yeah, there's lots to do in enjoying the toy box. When did you say it was coming out again?
It's coming out in April the 11th, 2017. So before it was going to be coming out, I think, the 25th of March, but they've moved it to April the 11th. They also confirmed today that there is going to be a physical version as well. And any of the backers that were on Kickstarter, if they wanted to go from a digital version to a physical version, they could upgrade. They're going to put out an email in a couple of weeks' time just to kind of ask if anybody wants that. Then they can kind of satisfy those orders.
If that'll be free, or if that'll be a little bit of extra money.
No, I would think it would probably be free. It's just kind of converting that. They've done that a couple of times. I think there's been some other things that they've just kind of, if you need this, if you want this. So I have, because I backed it, I have a t-shirt and some other stuff. But I have a digital download code, for Xbox. I think when I filled out my backers, survey, I put Xbox. So I bought it today, because I'm going to need 2 copies, because this is a game that both Nicola and I, are going to be jumping into and just playing a whole load of. So I bought it today on Xbox One, so I've pre-ordered it, so I can play around with the toy box. Like I say, I sent over the code to you because I don't have a PC that I could play it on. So I downloaded the code, the toy. It's downloading now, so I'm just going to have a look at that and just kind of have a bit of a play with that. So that looks like it's just good fun. But one of the things that you may have noticed as I was going through the platforms that this is on, it said it was on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, Mac, and Linux. But one of the things that they missed out was the Wii U. But so Playtonic also confirmed in the same announcement that they are ditching the Wii U version that was on the cards, because before this was going to be Wii U, and Team 17 were going to be publishing it on the Wii U, but they have now said that they have ditched those plans, but instead they're going to be bringing it out on the Nintendo Switch. So they said they are working with Nintendo, and they're going to upgrade it to the Nintendo Switch version. And they're going to announce further details in 2017. So this is very interesting. So this might mean that I might buy it a third time, or because I just think, playing Yooka-Laylee on the train, when I'm traveling around, that would just be absolutely superb. So they basically just announced they're ditching the Wii U. They're going to jump onto the Switch, which makes a lot of sense. Could this be? It's obviously not going to be a launch title because we're expecting the Switch to happen in March. But this is definitely going to be in launch window, as I believe Nintendo say.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if the Wii U cancellation is simply because of the numbers, really, that there aren't enough Wii U's out there to make it worth releasing for.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, again, Playtonic have said free of charge. Anyone who kind of opted for a Wii U code for their game, they can then move that to another platform as well. So they can kind of move that to Xbox, PlayStation 4, Switch if they want. They can kind of do all of that, and they can move that around. So that's Yooka-Laylee. There was a trailer. Obviously, there was a trailer. There's always in a trailer with an announcement. So there was it's called Capital Casino trailer. I'm going to put that link in the show notes as well, because it's a great looking trailer and kind of a Vegas-y level. Looked absolutely fantastic. Yooka-Laylee just I played it at EGX, and both myself and my nephew Will, we just came away with big grins on our faces, and we went up to the devs and when's it out? We want this now, So as you would have heard from our EGX show, we really did love this game, and it really was kind of one of our games of the show. So this is coming out in April 11th. So that's can't wait.
Bright, colourful, and fun. Yeah, cool. And to be honest, most people that would be keen enough to make a pledge on this game for the Wii U, probably hardcore Nintendo enough to be no-brainer on the Switch. So it shouldn't be too much of a loss to those people, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. And then kind of almost segueing over to Nintendo Switch is that Eurogamer posted an article today that Nintendo have announced when their reveal event is going to happen. So their reveal event that they kind of teased after that really cool trailer is going to happen on the 14th of January. But it's going to be an early one for us Brits, because it is 4 a.m. Is going to be. So it's live from Japan. The presentation is going to be live from Japan, and it's going to be 4 a.m. on the 13th of January. If you're kind of around the globe, it's going to be 11 p.m. the previous evening in the Eastern US time. It's going to be 8 p.m. Pacific. They get the nice kind of spot. 8 p.m. Pacific. So this is like I say, this is going to be happening on the 13th of January, where we should get more information, a price, maybe some of that information about kind of what the resolution's going to be, what the battery life's going to be like, those kind of nitty-gritty information that we're missing at the moment from this rather nice kind of presentation. So this is, like I say, for us Brits, it's going to be 4 a.m. GMT on the 13th of January.
Cool. So you're going to set your alarm?
Absolutely, I'm not missing this one. I want to be awake for. It'll probably be one of those days when I go to Manchester when I'm up that time anyway. So
yeah, it's kind of convenient. You'll be volunteering.
Yeah. I'm used to it, so I'll jump up and watch this because it's just really cool. So yeah, I bet they will announce kind of pre-orders and all of that. And I'm thinking, a couple of different SKUs, maybe like a Switch Pro SKU, similar to the kind of the Wii. Was it the Wii or the Wii U that had different kind of SKUs that you could buy?
Oh,
there was rumours.
The Wii U had a few, didn't it? It had like an 8 gig and a 32 gig.
That's it. And that rumours from the source that you've been talking about, they also saying that there could be one which has a game built in, already kind of loaded as well. So it'll be like maybe a Mario pack with that game.
Yeah, that's Laura. Yeah, cool. We shall see. Well, we'll get the whole thing. I think she actually. There's a press hands-on. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and she was like, yeah, thanks a lot, Nintendo. She said, I've leaked too much, and I'm officially banned. She said, I'm blacklisted from Nintendo because there's a big press hands-on coming up, and everybody, her friends in the industry all got an invite, but she didn't.
Oh wow! Did you see Jimmy Fallon playing it live? So they had Shigeru Miyamoto and they also had Reggie on the Jimmy Fallon show, and he got to play it live. So he got to play Zelda. So they had the Switch there. They was playing it with a Pro controller, and then Jimmy Fallon picked it up out of its little thing. Came off of the screen behind him, and then the camera zoomed to what was in his hands, and he was then playing it on that.
I did, and it looked good. And they got Miyamoto to do the Mario tune with the Roots, didn't they?
They did indeed. It was just so good. It was so good.
Brilliant.
So yes, it's very cool.
Cool. And the next piece of news is something I read that you may have been aware of it, but I didn't know about this. But Horizon Zero Dawn is going to use procedural generation. Did you know that?
Oh,
I wasn't aware.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
no.
So it turns out that Horizon Zero Dawn is going to use new GPU-based runtime procedural technology. Wow. Easy for you to say. So what does that mean? Well, it's going to use GPU, but it's going to use procedural generation to dynamically create the game's world around the player. I just didn't know this. So it's not going to be just limited to trees and rocks in the game, but it's also going to assemble full environments, including wildlife, effects, sounds, and gameplay elements. Apparently, there's going to be a talk about this because it's a new procedural placement system. There's a programming session at the GDC, Game Developers Conference, in 2017 in San Francisco. So next year, I'm not sure of the exact date of that, but Jaap van Mugden, who is Guerrilla Games' senior tech programmer, he's going to have a little chat about that and go into the ins and outs about how the procedural generation is going to work. So, yeah, I didn't know it was procedurally generated, but I tell you something, it looks blooming good.
Oh, it looks amazing. I just can't wait to get my hands on this.
It's like maybe the game's only going to be like 400 meg. It's going to procedurally generate it. But man, it looks really good.
Oh no, it's No Man's Sky all over again.
As I was sort of voicing that then, I was thinking, we've heard this before. And in the back of my head, I was like, no, Daz, don't say it. You said it. The elephant in the room is out. It does sound a little bit like that, but I mean, from the footage that we've seen, there's no ambiguity really about this game, is there? I'm not wondering what I'm going to be doing in this game. I'm not. Well, I think that sums it up really. I'm not wondering what I'm going to be doing in this game. I'm also not thinking, those graphics are sort of an acquired taste. I just think that it looks amazing. You understand straight away what kind of game it is because it's a third-person action game, and yeah, that it's procedurally generated. It would never have given it. Maybe it's slightly because of what happened with No Man's Sky, but it doesn't really give me the heebie-jeebies at all. It's just I just thought it was a really interesting fact to mention because I just didn't expect it. Most procedurally generated stuff. Well, we know about No Man's Sky, but other stuff I'm just used to roguelikes and things really, and to see it in a game as beautiful and as what's the word I'm looking for as popular, if you like, sort of as big a game as big as this is. It's just it's just quite interesting, isn't it? I thought, wow.
It really is. I mean, it's quite interesting that you were saying that there's a talk at GDC, because obviously GDC is between like about 27th of February to the 3rd of March, so they're going to have this talk, or GDC happens when this game comes out, because there was a tweet today from Guerrilla Games basically saying that Horizon Zero Dawn will be released on the 1st of March in the UK, so on the 1st of March in the UK, and I think we get it a couple of days early, which is kind of, it looks like it coincides with the end of GDC, because the UK are getting it a couple of days early and the rest of the world gets it kind of later, like 3 days later, so which will be the end of GDC. So it looks like that talk will definitely be just as it's kind of releasing, so people will be getting their hands on it.
Why we're getting it early? Are they based in Europe? Yeah, they're based in Amsterdam.
Right. So I don't know, that just PlayStation, it wasn't Guerrilla Games, it was PlayStation UK tweeted, want to hunt the Thunderjaw 2 days early. Horizon Zero Dawn will launch on the 1st of March 2017 in the UK.
Oh, right. I wonder if that'll follow on for the rest of Europe then. Maybe they've just said, we're in Europe, and so would you please let us release it in Europe first? I don't know.
It's really interesting, because I thought, I'll have a quick look at my calendar, see if the 1st of March is a Friday, because for some reason we're still getting games on a Friday, and it's not. It's actually a Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, that's, it breaks the mould even more. We're going to have Wednesday release dates. Sort of, not quite Tuesday. Well, it does. It's not that it'll already be out on the Tuesday anyway. Anywhere else, it's like we'll just get it on the Wednesday.
Everyone else gets it on the 3rd of March for that weekend, so they get it on Friday the 3rd of March. So it's really
it's your revenge, Anthony.
We can spoil it.
It's your revenge, isn't it? It's like, we'll have it on the Wednesday. Anthony's revenge. Everybody else gets a Friday release.
Yes, indeed. It's like the last Star Wars movie, and also there was something else as well. We got a couple of days early, but before the US, and that was more for press tours. But this is quite interesting that we're getting it. But I'm not quibbling. I'll be playing that. This game looks so good. I've seen a presentation at Gamescom. I'm very tempted to take the day off.
Yeah, this is a biggie. I'm right with you, man. This is a biggie. It's I'm so excited. I mean, this was the game when I was thinking about when I was going to reactivate my Boomerang membership. This was the game it before.
Yes.
But then I'm like, why am I even saying that? This is it's a game that I should really buy. It'd be odd to just rent it, though it probably is just single player campaigns, so it fits in what I'd usually rent. But then this kind of game is usually one that I would buy. You see something sometimes, and it's just like, wow, I'm in there, and I cannot wait. This is probably the biggest title I'm waiting for. But in between this coming out and everything else up to it, this is the biggest one, Resident Evil 7. The other ones that I read out before, I can't remember them, but Horizon Zero Dawn. For Honor, I'm quite keen on, but Horizon Zero Dawn, this just seems to ooze a quality and finesse that I think most people must be most people must agree. It's just like, that's a game I want. You just get it. Yeah. It's got that. You can't. I don't know. That quality, hasn't it? You can just tell. Hopefully, we won't be proved wrong.
And upgraded for PlayStation Pro as well, so which is quite nice.
Did Guerrilla Games make
Killzone?
No. It reminds me. You remember Kiriko? It was a PlayStation 3 launch title, or roundabout launch title. It had the protagonist, the lady in it. She looked very much like the one in Horizon Zero Dawn. Nariko or something.
Oh, yes, I know the one you mean. It was she had big red hair, didn't she?
Yeah, that flowed in a similar sort of way. It was a beautiful game. It had Andy Serkis doing some of the modelling for the motion capture. Heavenly Sword.
Yes.
That was Ninja Theory that did that.
It was indeed. And then there was that other one, wasn't there, where Andy Serkis played the monkey character as well.
Yeah, it was it was a game of the story of Into the West or what was that called?
That was really cool. I quite like that game, actually.
I remembered Heavenly Sword, and you give me another one. I can't remember. I'm trying to Google it now. Because I loved that game. I played that.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good game, actually.
You can remember that. You played it. It wasn't Into the West. It wasn't. Was it one word title? Enslaved. Odyssey to the West was the subtitle. Enslaved. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was very much like it. And The Last of Us, sort of its greenery, reminded me a bit like that as well.
Oh God, absolutely. Yeah, no, spot on. So that is all of our news. It's now time that we head over to the VR news desk for all the latest in VR.
Welcome once again to the VR desk. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm good. Hit me, Daz. What VR goodness have we got? No, don't actually hit me. Just hit me in VR. What have we got? What have we got at the VR news desk this week?
I'm going to hit you with clumps of VR gaming goodness news that you'll never recover from. I've got a little bit more than usual this week because we took some away from last week because we was getting too packed with all the PSX and the Game Awards and what have you. So this is a bit late, but Oculus Touch got released. That came out on the 6th of December, and that is the Oculus Rift's version of the controllers, like the HTC Vive controllers that give you room scale. You can wander about on the Oculus Rift and walk about and pick things up. If Oculus had that when it was announced, I probably would never have got a Vive, because it was only when Vive... I was looking for a VR system. Unfortunately, PSVR wasn't available at that time. And yeah, Oculus was really what I knew about, and then Vive announced room scale, and for me that was that. But finally, on the 6th of December, consumers are able to have that room scale experience on the Touch with being able to pick things up with these controllers, which sort of wrap around your hands, and they're quite interesting actually, the way they look, and they're meant to work pretty well. It's a pretty strong launch. It's coming out with, it's out with over 50 compatible games at launch, so that's pretty cool. Let's think. There's some games that are well known in VR. Circle's Job Simulator, you know that, don't you, Anthony? Bullet Train that you've mentioned as well, I think the other week. What else have we got that's good? King Spray is a graffiti simulator that's really awesome. Works very well with the old hand controls. Fantastic contraption. Serious Sam VR, which I mentioned on the podcast as well, is an awesome game, a wave shooter, which is really nice. Super Hot. I think it's an exclusive on the Rift for some time. I don't think, maybe a timed exclusive there. So
that's one game I really want to come to PlayStation VR. Yeah. That would just be fantastic. In that would just absolutely be incredible.
One of those games that you sort of think its soul is in VR, isn't it? Really, a little bit like Res. That's its home, and that's come out, and that's pretty cool. Loads of others. Final Approach, that's a great game. Space Pirate Trainer, that's a great game as well. There's over 50, so there's going to be a few good games there. Arizona Sunshine is probably one of the big VR games at the moment on the PC-based HMDs, and that's out as well on Touch. So that's really cool, So now you've got a choice for room scale of both the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive. Just on that subject, the website Upload VR was good enough to do a comparison, sort of taking into account where the Oculus is now with its new touch controllers, and done a side-by-side comparison of the Vive, because it wasn't really fair before when they did the side-by-side, because everybody just sort of said, well, the Vive's got the extra thing, the extra controllers, so it sort of stacks it in Vive's favour, because that was more, I don't know, it just felt more right. I think most reviews said that, really. So they've done a side-by-side comparison on the Vive versus the Rift, which should be an interesting read if you're interested in such things. If you want a quick TLDR, too long didn't read, I can give it you. They came down on the side of the Vive in the end. They said, I'll put the link to the full review in the show notes, but they said basically if you're looking for the better room scale experience, Vive is still the way to go. The reason they cite for this is just that for Vive you get it all for $799. For the Rift you have to need the headset for $599. Then you need the touch controllers and second sensor, which is $199, but you also need a third sensor, which is $80. And they say it comes out to approximately $100 for a comparable system, but unfortunately they say it's still slightly inferior. They give a few reasons why it's inferior. They say it's got a frustrating cord length. I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried it. Loads of USB ports and cables, like more than the Vive. The Vive's got a few. Added price tag. Finicky tracking, so maybe it's not quite the same as Vive. And they all add up, it says, to the Rift, not quite measuring up to the relative ease and simplicity of room scale VR through Vive. I'm glad they added the word relatively, because, it isn't no picnic with the Vive, to be honest. So they say relatively, so it's going to be a little bit more of a pain than the Vive. And they just say, basically the Vive just needs to do it a touch better. I'm not trying to do a pun on touch there, but just a little touch better. So I will put that in the notes if you're interested in reading it. But the good thing about it is, some people might prefer the touch anyway. They might prefer the Rift, they might prefer the touch. You might have Oculus already and you want that experience without having to go over to a Vive. So it's good, and it's competition, isn't it? So it'll keep things moving, and that's all good for VR, which is basically what we're interested in. We want more VR, and having different platforms and different people in the game. That's going to keep it going and keep the momentum going. Hopefully, keep innovation going and get the prices down, etc. So that's good. I actually need to try it because apparently, I've talked before about the Revive middleware thing on that you can use on Vive that allows you to play the Oculus games. Mm-hmm. Well, the nice guy that's made this has made it Oculus Touch compatible. And I think you asked this a while ago when we were talking about touch. And so, yes, the answer now is definitively yes. This guy has made it so that I can run the Revive software and I'll be able to experience some of the touch stuff in my Vive.
Wow,
that's really I'll have to have a hands-on. I've had a very, very tiny look at an avatar builder, which just made me, when I looked down at the controls, I saw the touch controls. So even though I didn't own the touch controls, I had them in my hands in the VR mode, which is pretty awesome. Cool. And I got to move my thumb about. So like on the top of it, where your thumb is, there's now I don't know because I haven't actually seen them, only in VR, but there's two buttons. There's like an A and a B, and then a thumbstick next to them. And you sort of hold. It's hard to describe, but just have a look at the article; it will show you. But it seemed okay. But I didn't have much time. So I need to have a go with some touch stuff, which I'll be able to do, and I'll report back next week on how that went. So that's touch, which is out. Hooray! 6th of December. Hopefully, it's a success. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's got to be a success. Facebook's got millions behind it, so we'll see.
How easy is it to get hold of? Is it available? Are units available in the UK and the US, or is it scarce?
I think it's scarce. I went on Amazon to have a look at the prices, and it was sold out on Amazon. Yeah, it was not available at this time. I might have a quick look, actually. UK, Amazon, and then look for Oculus Touch, and just see what the resellers are selling it for. So here we go, Oculus Touch, 189 out of stock. No other sellers.
Wow.
So yeah, it's $199 or £189, which we're used to, aren't we? Blighty. So yeah, it's out of stock. So gold dust. I wonder if we're going to have similar distribution issues as we did with the actual HMDs. We'll see. So that's Oculus Touch, 50 games available at launch. That's a really strong launch. Then we have PSVR. Want a PSVR in the UK, but you haven't bought one yet? Well, you can't. There's none to be had.
Speaking of hard to get VR,
yeah, that would have been a better segue. I'm so
I set you up. I learned from James last week, and I set you up there. That was that was the segue. I didn't see it. I'm going to try harder. I'm so determined and I'm in the moment delivering my VR news, and you said that. It's just like, yeah, absolutely. Now you're there Googling and looking at Amazon, and all I'm doing is actually setting you up for the next one.
You weren't interested, were you? You just wanted me to go into the next article. Oh, forgiveness, please. Sorry about that. I will work harder at being more dynamic.
We'll send you on a Segway course.
Let's do it again.
So tell us about PlayStation, because obviously there's lots of people desperate to get PlayStation VR for Christmas.
Yeah, you can't have one, they're out of stock. So
you're really bad Santa.
Yeah, I know. The elves are not working hard enough at putting all these together. So if people waited and didn't get the pre-order in, last minute they've decided they want one, which is the kind of thing I would do, and then I'd find out I couldn't get one, it'd drive me absolutely crazy, and I'd end up wanting one even more. But yeah, they're out of stock again. If we check on Amazon.co.uk.
Yeah, Amazon are currently showing temporarily out of stock. But the thing that kind of starts to get my blood boiling is when you click on there are other sellers, and obviously Amazon are out of stock. But then so that's $349 for the VR pack, and then when you start looking at other retailers who should be named and shamed, it starts jumping up to 466. Even on just page 1 of 3, it goes from 466 to £520. Plus $14.39 UK delivery. These people should be ashamed of themselves.
Wow.
The biggest one is $799.
You're joking.
Nope.
Wow, my goodness me. So please resist.
Just wait. It'll get there. If you really wanted to get your children one for Christmas, then just give them an IOU. Just let them know it's coming. Because the stocks will come. The stocks will come, but it's obviously just a tight time. But it's just incredible. I can't believe that this is allowed to happen. There's all of these. Some of people got multiple items in stock, and they've just basically taken them from Amazon just to resell. And I know it's kind of, some people will say that it's smart money. It's a smart thing to do, but it's not. It's stopping someone who's gone on Amazon to buy a PlayStation VR. They can now not get it because you just want to make a profit, and it just makes me so mad. It really does.
Yeah, it irks me as well. It's a reseller's paradise. Does my head in.
We've been. And I bet if we looked on eBay, it would probably be just as bad, if not worse, over there as well. Of
course it would. And that's the thing. It's like you've got your average Joe just wants one, and they can't get one because if you want to call them smart, I suppose it is. It's business savvy, but they've bought 100 somehow, or bought 50, and it's another thorn in the side of the honest people, the hard-working people that just want one to enjoy. We've been in the same position. I was in the position when I had 2 of those Pip-Boy things in my checkout when I was buying it. And I just thought, no, I'll cancel it. I could have resold it, but maybe people think, you silly fool, you should have just sold it and you'd have got a free Pip-Boy and money to spare. But you've got to sort of have the courage of your convictions, haven't you, and try and stick by your integrity. And these guys are just out. They're doing it. They're not gaming fans, or maybe they are a bit, but they're obviously getting the money is more important to them. There's a business argument behind it, but it's still, it's not good, is it? It's not good for. It's not. How do they sleep at night?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking on Amazon, and I'm looking on eBay, and the ones that are kind of buy it now, probably the cheapest that you're seeing on eBay is about £550 for a PlayStation VR.
Yeah, and it's always going to be the same every Christmas with desirable items.
There's always one or two, isn't there? There's always one or two desirable things that people are after.
Yeah. I remember the PS2. It was the same with Wii. It was amazing with the Wii. It was unbelievable. But yeah, every year, and it's getting more as more people are savvy and there's more tech out there to select from. You can't even. I mean, can you blame the distribution, or is it just that? You can't blame the distribution if people are snapping up them by the hundreds so that they can control supply and cause demand. And you can't even blame the manufacturers for that, can you? And because you don't want the manufacturers, it wouldn't be in their interests to bring out so many that they could saturate the market, that the resellers couldn't profit, because they could only do that, say, once, and then the resellers would be stuck with it, and then there'd be no way to gauge it, would there? There'd be no way to gauge it.
Absolutely. I mean, this isn't just happening in tech. There was something that I wanted to buy for Nicola for Christmas, and I was like, right, I'm going to get this, and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to get it. So I don't know why, I just didn't get it one week, and I was like, I'll get it next week, and then I jumped on, I thought, oh, Black Friday's coming, I'm going to get there before that, because I didn't want this to sell out. So I placed an order on their online store, only to get an email that then said, sorry, we're out of stock on this item, and this was November. Christmas was a month and then some away, and they had run out of stock on this. And then the worst thing that this company could have ever done was they then sent me a survey asking how my recent purchase was. Oh my god, did I just crack my knuckles and write them a tome?
Wow.
Just like, and nothing. I wasn't irate. It was just a very constructive thing, and asking why you could sell out quite a key desirable item within your store, something that's very front and center on your website, very kind of all over it, and you have sold out on something so easy to reproduce. This isn't PlayStation VR. This was an item of kind of clothing, and they sold out, and I just do not know, and when you call them, and when I called their website or called their customer service or called a store, no one was helpful at all. And I'm not going to name this person or even name the item, because I managed to get hold of one, so Nicola will be opening it, but it was so much effort and stress to just get hold of one, and it's just incredible. I'm shocked that people are running out of stock for Christmas items, a month before Christmas, or even as we are 2 weeks before Christmas, people are running out of that. That just befuddles my brain.
Yeah, shocking. It really is, and that's why I was trying to be mega in advance. And it sounds like you were doing you did your due diligence. You were doing it really in advance, and you're still hitting it because more and more people. It's just going to be you're going to have to start doing it in August.
Yes,
that's when the supermarkets start celebrating it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I see the first mince pie hit the shelves, I'm going to do a Daz now. That's when I'm going to do my shopping.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Yeah, I must admit, I'm too early. But the problem is with being as sort of early as me, getting everything, is like every time I go to the shops or go online now, I see something. I've been done for months. Well, a couple of months, or maybe a few months. But it's just like you're done, but then you keep seeing stuff. So you just going, I've got to get that. So you keep adding to the pile as well. But
yeah.
But that's a good thing, It's all about that heap in the morning, or hopefully it will be. So that's the PSVR. Congratulations to you, Anthony, and all the like-minded people that got it early. James as well, he's got one, hasn't he? Because you dodged a bullet. Because if you'd wanted one now, you'd have been hard pushed to get one, or you would have had to pay. To line the pockets of one of these resellers, these scrupulous resellers. So that's that. And the next item we have is for a lovely PSVR, sticking with the PSVR, called Perfect, which is sort of a relaxing experience, a relaxing simulation, relaxation simulation, if you like.
Like it.
Yeah, it's
a relax 'em up.
A relax 'em up. Yeah, man. So this will just take you away to lovely destinations with ambient sounds, exotic locations. You've got 3 beautiful places to go. You've got a tropical beach, northern lights, and mountain wilderness. And the screenshots for this, they just look very beautiful. It's not so much of a game, again, it's more of an experience, but it's where players can just go there, chill out, put your headphones on. I suppose you could block out the humdrum and the daily grind quite well, couldn't you? Just don't try it at work, because it's difficult to cover up the fact that you've got a PSVR on your head and earphones at your desk, and that you're still working. You can't really minimise it as easily as solitaire, can you?
No, but I must admit, this game, or this experience, this kind of escapism experience, I really do. I like this. I'm going to get this. It comes out on PlayStation on the 20th of December, and there is up until the 4th of January. You can really see that the window for this game really is kind of Christmas. This is the one this is the kind of game that, as much as I'll show any Star Wars fan the Star Wars, but if you just got, your mum, your dad, your gran, this is something you just stick on and just let them kind of experience the Northern Lights. I know my brother-in-law, who's coming over for Christmas Day, that's one of the things that's on his to-do list, is to see the Northern Lights. So I'm like, here we go. But it just looks absolutely fantastic. There's a 20% discount on the PlayStation Store up until the 4th of January. So I'm definitely going to say, like I say, it comes out on the 20th of December. And I love the look of this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's no money, £7.99, isn't it? It's good. I've done a few. I've played a few of these on my Vive, and they're beautiful things. I sort of won't say much more about them, because I've talked about this sort of thing before. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The Northern Lights as well. I presume that's the Blackpool illuminations that are featured, is it?
Obviously, it's that iodine bed just off of the coast. That's what they're talking about.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the famous Blackpool lights. Come down to the tower and see the lights for $7.99. Brilliant.
You get to ride a donkey.
You get to
in
ride
VR.
In VR. Oh, I was riding behind 2 reindeer before in VR, so you could do it. It'd be quite nice if they did some kind of VR Blackpool illuminations thing. But maybe if people saw the reality of it from a distance, they'd never come and see the real thing.
They'd be like, right, that's it, done. I mean, the great thing about this game is that you can customize the time of day. You can change the point of view. There's different moments for each environment. So there's like things that happen. So it is just a case of, I'd love to just I'd love to just sit in the movie room, stick this on, and just sit in the corner and just kind of completely relax. It just looks like it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to play this. I'm going to digitally. Obviously, I think this is a digital download only, but this is something that's really good just to kind of stick it on and just sit there and just enjoy the vistas.
Yeah, this made me think that it'd be really nice to just take a book in or read your gaming news or whatever in there. You know, you just finished on like a big old game. You know, you're a bit sort of frazzled from shooting away on Gears of War or something like that, and you just go in here. And obviously, you can't read a book when you've got the headset on. But the game, that social game I was playing, High Fidelity, they used you could just sort of press a button and your big sort of iPad appeared in your hand, a big tablet, and you know you could have that tablet because I played another game. Where, you know, whatever you wanted to see in the VR space, you could just sort of browse to. You know, you could browse to a folder and then put a PDF in it or whatever. And so you could do that, couldn't you? Or you could view the web. Within that tablet, there could be a browser. And you could sit in there and you could just read your sites, you know, or you could put a book in there or a comic or something like that. And you could sit in this beautiful place with the northern lights above you with your iPad. You could lie down, you know, and just read. I think that'd be really beautiful. Be really nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be amazing. So when you're kind of fed up with looking at these gorgeous vistas, you can then just kind of whip out your Kindle and then just kind of sit on the mountaintop and read.
Yeah, virtual Kindle, exactly. And you just like wherever you want to be, and it's just and they could add to it, couldn't they? They could add DLC to that for a few quid, and you know you'd lap it up. All these different places around the world, or fantastical places under the sea, fantasy lands, space. It'd be awesome. And you can just sit there. It could be your place to catch up on the gaming news, or just whatever. Just use your browser, have a read, catch up on things. It's just nice. And
yes,
it reminds me of that actually, because I tried another thing the other day on my Vive, and this was called what was it called? Speech Trainer. I thought, what's that? It's called Speech Trainer, and it showed a picture of a guy at a lectern with an audience, and I thought, okay. And it said you sort of this will help you beat the nerves if you know you're nervous talking to rooms full of people, which I've had to do it. I can do it, but I always get the heebie-jeebies before I do it. So I thought this would be really interesting. So I loaded it up anyway, and there it was. You've got an auditorium with a presentation screen behind you, a lectern to stand at, and an audience in front of you. And I thought this is really cool. So I went to the lectern. And then it said, right, browse to the PDF or whatever you want, or your PowerPoint presentation or whatever, and we'll put it on the screen. And I haven't got anything like that on my PC. So I sort of fell there. I was like, oh, darn it. But so obviously not as relaxing, but another sort of use of VR. It just made me think about it when, like, imagining reading a book in a mellow place. But all of a sudden, you know, you click your fingers and you're in a virtual auditorium and you can practice reading out that project proposal, Anthony. And you'll know that you'll get it bob on. I should maybe practice the podcast in it so that I'd hit the segues and stop messing it up.
Yeah, your segue training in that just sounds so cool. I remember a couple of months ago that when you had that, there was a book app where you could be reading a book and it kind of takes you to the locations that are in the book. And I remember us kind of getting like really kind of excited about that. You know, imagine reading Harry Potter and then suddenly you're in the Great Hall or something like that. Would just be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and that's interesting actually. You saying that, I'd forgotten about that. And like with this speech trainer, I don't think it does this, but imagine a speech trainer app like this. So you call a meeting and you're going to pitch or whatever you're going to talk about. So the people in the audience are real people that are all wearing headsets. And as you pitch, as you come out with whatever it is, you could take them to these places. You know, instead of seeing it on the screen. You know when you use an environment, you say, so look at this place now. This is Mexico or whatever. And all of a sudden, instead of just watching it on the screen, everybody's sat in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then your steps of your flowcharts or whatever, they actually come out and get animated in front of everybody instead of on the screen. It's actually using the screen in VR. I know this is just a practice, but that would be amazing. The way that you could present if you were presenting to everybody that owned a headset, which may happen, that could really be quite something, couldn't it? No more death by PowerPoint, because even the most boring thing, I suppose it'll get boring eventually, but even the slides as they come out in front of you and everyone's like, oh, wow. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So that looks really good. Explore and relaxing, perfect. Sounds nice.
Yes.
And 20th of December, right there for the Christmas. Get out of the way of all that Christmas hustle and bustle. Will you leave me alone? I'm having 5 minutes, okay? I'm on my mountain. I'll do dinner in a minute. Anthony, the turkey's burning. Oh.
That's it, don't put it on and then don't put your Christmas dinner on and then start playing VR. You'll never be able to see your sprouts boiling over.
Oh, dear me. What are we on now? So this is an interesting one. Study backs VR being used in education, which I thought was pretty cool. So we've talked lots of times, haven't we, that VR must be amazing in school. Surely it'd be a great way to learn in history and in biology and the different applications of science and stuff, just because it's more visual. And we've had a study now that has said that that's quite true. It's not a massive study, but HTC's China's regional president of Vive, Alvin W. Graylin, says every child has the potential to be a genius, but unfortunately today's teaching models have failed to realise this truth. So he went on to say VR unleashes children's potential by letting them learn new concepts using a multimodal model, thereby enabling the brain to grasp new concepts in the way that's most natural to them. He was saying this at the reveal of a new research report that's found the application of VR being used in the educational curriculum being beneficial to student learning. So this report was called The Impact of VR on Academic Performance, and it lists the results of tests which were given to 40 children using the HTC Vive specifically. They did a number of training exercises and it used the Vive. Now, what happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The test showed that use of VR led to an increase in 20% of score averages. Normally educated children were scoring 73%, but children taught with VR were scoring 93%. So, quite a difference. Yeah, so it proved this theory. I mean, admittedly, the sample size isn't that massive, 40 children. But it seemed to harness the enthusiasm that you need to... Well, you don't need that to retain knowledge, but I think it helps to have enthusiasm on a subject, doesn't it? To be interested, to retain the knowledge.
Yeah, no, it really does.
And we've waxed lyrical about that many times, but this study has seemed to prove that. One of the children said, I feel like I'm in the middle of the universe. It's so beautiful. And other people said, I hope that VR can be available in my school as soon as possible. I will be extremely interested in VR-based subjects. One parent interviewed also saw the potential, saying traditional ways of teaching lags behind in igniting the desire to learn among students. I think that's what we were just talking about. However, VR-based teaching inspires students to learn and presents to students the abstract content that occurs in the learning process in a vivid way, making it easier for students to understand and retain complex concepts. So hopefully, I don't think it's probably suited for everything, but it'd be nice in time if it becomes cheaper and more widely available and a bit more normal. VR could be a way of harnessing children's potentials to make them even smarter, and smarter children, better futures means better consoles and better games.
Absolutely, get them interested while they're young, and then they'll make better VR.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought that was really interesting. The next thing, it's jam packed today, is and we've talked about this many a time, about the different standards that we're getting, or the different platforms that we're getting in VR, and the exclusivities and all the rest of it. It's getting fragmented, isn't it? And I think I often quote, I think it was Richard Marks or some Vive chairman or something from way back in the day saying, we need to work together. It might have been Palmer Luckey. It's like, we're all going to work together because we want it to succeed. And that never happened, really. It was like, as soon as they were out the gate, it's like 3 ways it went. And, everybody's trying to get their own exclusives, apart from Vive, because that's kind of open source. But certainly Oculus and obviously PSVR is a closed system. So it doesn't help make VR as profitable as it could be for the people designing the games, which can be problematic, as the software is going to drive the technology, and if people can't make a profit, they'll be less inclined to make stuff, which will make people less inclined to buy it and invest in it, won't it? So some guys called Kronos Group are calling together for a standards initiative. It's called Kronos VR API Standards Initiative. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring everybody together instead of being fragmented and have sort of a common API for all of these standards so everything could work. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's a great thing to do. They're trying to define a cross-vendor, royalty-free, open standard for access to modern VR devices. So far, so it's not just a pipe dream, so some guys have signed up. We've got Razer, AMD, ARM, Epic Games, Oculus, Tobii and Valve have all signed up to now to this standard, or to be part of it. So that's really great. The article in question cites that the fragmentation has probably been in part due to the rapid growth of VR. Because, it's kind of come out of nowhere and it's kind of growing exponentially in different directions because you've got all these, we forget about the mobile side of things. You've got Daydream, you've got Gear VR.
Yes.
And there's loads of other headsets out there all vying for a slice of this pie. So it costs devs have got to port and optimize for all these different standards, and that takes time and, probably isn't profitable. Which is why you'd get, if it carried on the way it's going, you could completely understand that Sony's PSVR could leave the rest in the dust because the devs will just go for the 50 million user base of the PlayStation 4 and think, well, I want that. What's the point in catering to the 700,000 Vive owners? What's the point in catering to the 600,000, whatever is Oculus owners? The money would either be on the mobile devices, so go for Google Daydream, or go for PSVR. But if this Kronos standard, Kronos VR standard API comes into being, and it sounds like it could do because of the amount of companies that are signed up for it, then everything would run on everything, which would make it more profitable for the devs. The different studios, the different platform holders, the publishers wouldn't really have to get involved. I don't know how it would be for Sony with crossplay and stuff, but let's just imagine that they were on board with it and everything works on everything. It would help it grow quicker because everything would work on everything. So you wouldn't have people would just get the one that suited them for whatever reason, whether it was fiscally, whether it was the one that they could afford, whether it was just the one that they've already got the PS4 for, whether they've got a PC already, so they just want a Vive or an Oculus. But they wouldn't have their decision constrained or diverted by the software because they didn't have that as a concern. That would be really nice, wouldn't it?
It'd be absolutely superb. It really would.
Yeah, so we've talked about that before, that sort of if only everybody was working together, and it sounds like by signing up to this Kronos standard, this VR standard, this could bring everybody together, and I think that's fantastic, and I hope that it happens. I hope that it happens. So with luck, I'll be talking about this again, that it's been a success.
But would that mean that something like PlayStation VR would have to have room scale then to kind of compete with or to match, not compete, but to match the other ones? So they would have that standard.
I don't think it'd be that far because that's sort of making more obstructive, isn't it? It doesn't make sense because it's like, you'll have to be able to support hand controllers in order to be part of the standard. I don't know though, but I would imagine it would be more along the lines of just everything has to work on everything. If something needs extra stuff that your product doesn't have or doesn't support, then it won't work. Or you could probably load it, but it just wouldn't work because you wouldn't have the facility to use it. Or there might be a spec issue, like if you're trying to play something that's very high PC spec on a Gear VR, it'd be down to your phone, whether it could run it or not. So it may run it, but might run it not very well. But yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I don't know what they decide, and it's complex. It's a very complex question as well as to how they would do that. So I can't glibly just say, it'd work like this or it'd work like that because I really don't know. But the thinking behind it is that there's a standard and that everything can pretty much run on everything else because the API will allow that. But as for how, I don't know. I've got some diagrams that look very pretty showing all different Steam VR, Oculus, Samsung VR, even OS VR, Daydream, all running across a middleware. But how that will work when you throw extra peripherals into the mix, that's an interesting question. But I think it'd be a nice step forward. Just if companies step forward is a great start, isn't it? Which they have. You know.
Absolutely.
What did we got? We've got a nice quote here. We've got Gabe Newell. So Lord Gabe said, the number of VR systems on the market is growing rapidly. Most of these require separate API support from the developer, which is causing huge fragmentation for consumers. Kronos's work on a standard API to enable applications to target a wide variety of VR devices is an important step to counter that trend. So that's what Gabe Newell of Valve said. And it could work that if you've got an Oculus Touch, a PSVR with the motion controllers and a Vive with the hand controllers, that this API would allow a game to work on all of those. But obviously, unless they brought out some kind of peripheral for the phones, then they just wouldn't work on the phones, and that would just be down to common sense, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know why I'm digging that hole again, because I just sort of got myself out of it. But we shall see. But there's a positive sign up there, so obviously companies believe in that, and I was surprised to see that Oculus was part of that, out of those companies that were signed up, because they're coming for a lot of stick, trying to give themselves a walled garden and all the rest of it. But if they've signed up for this Kronos standard, then that shows that they're looks like they're thinking of in an inclusive way going forward. So,
fantastic.
So that is the VR Kronos API standard initiative, and even though it's a big mouthful, it sounds very interesting. Okay, and so finally, this is the story about the Nobel Vive, and you'll see why I say Nobel in a minute. So the Nobel Museum and HTC Vive are collaborating on a VR exhibit, which is going to be called Exploring Matter. So there's a blog post from the Vive website, and the president of VR at HTC, Richard Steiber, says, the Nobel Prize is an institution that is entirely based on recognising great contributions to humanity. Naturally, winners of the Nobel Prize are among those who have advanced our knowledge of the universe, its physical makeup and its evolution. Among Nobel's greatest laureates are those recognised in physics and the science of space for their discoveries behind the Big Bang, the aurora borealis or northern lights, the sun's fusion process, gravitational waves and radio waves. The VR app being developed for Vive will highlight these 5 areas and in the process take people through a tour of space and time. Imagine learning about these mysteries of physics and the breakthrough discoveries behind them in VR. Thanks to VR, we can experience events in ways that transcend physical reality, like being there when the Big Bang happens, peeking into the sun to understand one of the most powerful reactions in our universe, or even just having the chance to view the northern lights up close. So that's an app that they're bringing out, Vive collaborating with the Nobel Museum. It's called the Exploring Matter app. It's going to be available to be seen in Dubai at the Nobel Museum exhibition in February 2017. Then it's going off to the Nobel Museum in Stockholm. But the whole experience will then be available globally as a free app on the Vive, and hopefully on other systems as well. But that sounds pretty awesome.
That sounds really cool. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's another sort of wow. I'd love to see the Northern Lights up close. I'd love to see sort of the perceived Big Bang of a universe coming into being, or getting close to the sun and seeing all those sort of solar flares. It'd remind me of Vulcan Venture. Nemesis, was that Nemesis 4? Oh man, do you remember the sun planets and the sort of sun dragons came out? Anyway, so I'm sort of bringing it down a bit, but yeah, that sounds really cool.
Fantastic, superb. So is that it for your jam-packed VR news desk?
That's it. I'm hot now.
Wow, you're done.
I'm done. Stick a fork in me.
Oh, excellent stuff, superb. And on that mammoth VR news desk note, that's about it for this episode. Big thank you for listening, and don't forget you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter, we're at LostSparkPod. You can find us on YouTube and also on the Gamers of Lost Ark PS4 community and Xbox One Club. We're everywhere. Darren, where can people find you online, sir?
You can find me as Wythermator on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch, Daz a Gamer on YouTube, and at Daz Whittam on Twitter.
Wonderful. For me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live. I'm PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and also Chessman UK on Twitter and Nintendo. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That email address is feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. Also, if you're feeling generous, please leave us a review on iTunes. Well, that's about it, Daz. We'll see everyone next week. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.